Bonjour, everyone. Welcome back to True Footy Live. How's everyone going? I am trying different software today, so I hope everything's coming through all right. It's good to be here. We got a few in the chat. First of all, shout out Random Aussie Things, newest member of the channel. And we've got PM, who says Swans by 27. Bold call. I've tipped the D's today. Music with Rahul says Go Demons. And Carpair says D's by 9. Good to have you guys. Hope everyone's going well. Hope I'm coming out okay. Let me know if you can hear me. This would be a great time to let me know if I'm muted, for instance. Got 7 in the chat by the looks. Bonnie Stott. G'day. What does WSG mean? Sorry, I'm 30 now, so if there's some new lingo out there, I haven't caught WSG. What's good, maybe? I'm good. G'day, Matt is a legend. Rogue Rights in the chat. Welcome. This whole preason talking him up, and they do this to me. Wait, who? Perfect. We got a few people coming through. Perfect. Good to have you guys. A few people clarifying it's what's good. I've never seen that before. In the background here, I'm actually just trying to load KO. As is a staple of my True Footy live streams. There's always a little bit of a technical delay, but that's all right. Thanks, Hee. Good to have you, mates. I am tipping the D's in this game. Dominic says go Storm. Timely. I'm tipping the D's. I think Sydney's midfield outs just spooked me a little bit. But I don't really know what to expect from Sydney, to be completely honest. Vin McRae didn't get named. There's a weird small part of me that just feels a little bit smug about that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I didn't have him in my fantasy team. I just had this feeling. I just like Collingwood's midfield so deep. And I do trust your insights, but I'm like, who comes out of that team, right? Except Taylor Adams. Don't say the obvious one. Hello, Unbranded. Good to have you. Mitch Buttsworth's in the chat, by the way. Good day. Swans by 19. Interesting. Got a few differing tips. So I'm using different software today, guys, because I have hopes that I might be able to do this stream with somebody else. Joycey might be able to dual screen with me. So we're going to, be able to chat and talk with the chat as well. But I'm good, thank you. Matt is a legend. I'm tired. I woke up really tired today. I only got about 5 hours sleep. So maybe that's why. Maybe. That would make sense. But otherwise, good. It feels good to have actual football back. But, I mean, in some ways, my life doesn't change. Like, there was kind of football, and I was already doing footy videos for 3 months. So it's not the same change that it otherwise would be. And it's also not the Eagles playing this weekend. So still good. Dude above average says go Eagles. Well said. Rogie says it's a B's dip. Yeah, that makes sense. But still wasn't enough for me to put him in my fantasy team. He's tipping the D's to make a statement. I could see that. Yeah, I really don't trust that they're going to fall away. My ladder prediction aside, the ladder prediction was a bit of a punt, but I don't know. This time of year, I kind of just believe in the best of everyone. As lame as that sounds. KO is nearly fired up. Hey, there we go. You can hear it now. My mistake. I also thought the game started at 8:40. Oh, my time, 8:40. Cool. So we are officially underway, about a minute into the game. Favorite player for the Eagles? It's probably Oscar Allen or Elijah Hewitt at the moment. That would be funny, Hunsey. Yeah, the Suns list is pretty good. I haven't actually looked at the name teams for Gold Coast, if that's what you're referring to. I will have a quick look. So Melbourne's got the ball in their forward line to start off with. Believe in the best of everyone. Yeah. No, but I've kept everything pretty logical on True Footy, at least in my opinion, what's logical. And but But I still think you still can't help but get caught up in a little bit of the preseason and think North look good. So I think their upper end potential was pretty reasonable. Yeah. I haven't actually looked at the team, Bunny, yet. I'm going to do that right now. Just still getting a little organized here. The AFL app also crashed on my phone and won't work, so I have to use Footy Live, I think it is. It's a pretty good app as far as I can tell. Just having a look at the Gold Coast list now. So they got Collins, Ballard, and no third tall. I don't think Ewland is that tall. Sexton in the back line, that's good for my fantasy team. Is that Gorn? Oh, he's hit the post. Grandy. Bit of a battle today. Thoughts on the Webster suspension? Yeah, I think we were chatting about it in the group chat with the boys, and I said I could see anywhere between 6 and 8. It was so stupid. So stupid. So I think 7 weeks is about right, to be honest. That is a classic textbook of, if the AFL generated AI, a generated AI video to show you exactly what they're trying to stop, it's Webster jumping, turning his back after the ball. There's not too much grey area there. I don't think there's a strong argument against 7 weeks. Windsor first possession, centres it, a little bit up and under. Petrarca does well. Oh, Rogie's doing fantasy for the first time. Interesting. Cover pusher, yeah. I feel okay about my team at the moment. I have even made some changes after my video came out. And obviously we get a bit of a practice run with this game, or this round, to see who scores well and get a little bit of confidence in certain players. Like Grundy is one I'll be paying attention to, because I don't think Laddams is playing as ruck. Double check that in a second. What am I streaming on? I'm streaming on StreamYard. I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm coming through a little bit crisper than I normally am. I mean, I know it's not great quality. The camera's not amazing. But does anyone else think that, who does my live streams? It just feels like a little bit less shitty. That's the way it looks on StreamYard to me. It was great to get him on the channel. Yeah, I've started to pay for the premium version of StreamYard so I can do more content like this. And the audio came out well as well. And it's easier than OBS and easier than recording any other way. So, yeah, I should have started this years ago. G'day, Darth Jar Jar, by the way. Matt as a Legend uses StreamYard as well. Yeah, it's really good. Hunsey reckons it looks better. That's a good start. Oh. Is that Florent? Kicks the first goal of the season. I'm sure there's things on StreamYard I can do to make this a better viewing experience. It's a little bit limited. There are certain things that OBS does better, like putting the score up. I don't know how to do that. You'd think I do this for a living. But I haven't worked out, and I used ChatGPT to help me learn how to use StreamYard, and it says you can't do that. But obviously, like UCAT and Cardi do that. So it is what it is. I'll work it out. Graz says, looking forward to the Eagles losing by 100 points. No, I'm not looking forward to it, Graz. It was almost the same level as Gaff, personally. I think, I don't want to give him too much of a defense, but one thing I'll say that looks weird about it is it just doesn't even look like he's trying to be vicious. It seemed a little bit more cowardly than vicious. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's hard to articulate, but there's something weird about it where it doesn't look like he's trying to hurt Simpkin, but at the same time clearly makes a decision that indicates he doesn't give a shit if Simpkin gets hurt. And I don't think I'm wording it correctly for what's in my head, but that was the only thing about it that seemed weird. But either way, 7 weeks about right. Grundy got stung by a blue ball this morning. Really? Jeez. Bonnie says, thoughts on Darcy McPherson? Yeah, decent, probably a little bit underrated player. I feel like, respectfully to Gold Coast, they'd probably have a lot of underrated players because they don't get the same coverage. Who was that? Is that Viney? It was Viney. I hate that I always go there, but Jack Viney is a very handsome man. It's not a good haircut by some metrics, but it really suits him. Metrics, what am I talking about? It kind of suits him. I like that scruffy mullet. That's kind of the mullet I was going for, but his looks way better. Yeah, his family did not help his case. That is true. What the fuck were they thinking? AFL NRL round 1. Oh, true. The Australia-New Zealand test. I don't follow UFC, but like I vaguely do. Like I watch like Instagram highlights, but I don't know anything about it really. So the NRL, is that in Vegas or something? Is that why opening round's happening? And if that's the case, what time is it on? Clayton Oliver is at the centre bounce for Darth Jar Jar asking. Yeah. I've kind of been absorbed in the chat. I haven't been watching too closely just yet. Is it really called People's First Stadium? How long was it Heritage Bank for, though? Viney wins the ball out of the centre with a free kick. Geez, D's have started probably the slightly better of the two teams, that's for sure. But only edging them. First 2 games were last week. Oh. So what? Is there no NRL this weekend? I thought the whole reason we were doing opening round was because the NRL wasn't here. Thoughts on Melbourne's culture? I don't really have any strict thoughts at the moment. I think, obviously, there's a bit of a party culture, a little bit, but that could be isolated to a few individuals. But what I'll say is, it's kind of, as Spargo misses, we'll kind of see the proof in the pudding when the season gets underway, which, solid start, too early to say. But I think if Melbourne perform well, it doesn't speak too badly about their culture. Thanks, Brendan. Yeah, I appreciate that. Everyone's help with my fantasy team. I suck at fantasy. I've made a few changes since that video. But yeah, by all means, let me know. Melbourne had a really quiet off season. Yeah, for a second I didn't realize that was sarcasm. Goulden. He's not the man you want the ball in the hand if you're going for Melbourne. Good player. NRL's in Melbourne this weekend. Interesting. Wait, all of the games are in Melbourne? So they just swapped states. Interesting. Matt is a legend tipping the Eagles for the spoon. Cats 13th, eh? 4 matches. Yeah, gotcha. With the Storm playing somewhere. Yeah, right. What the hell is going on in the sport world? I don't mind this opening round thing, to be honest. The more I think about it. It's nice to have a bit of disruption from the usual Carlton Richmond routine. Seven plays 8. I've tipped the D's, Timothy. Am I studying media? Thanks, mate. No, I don't. I've just been doing this for a few years now. I did study at uni, but I didn't do media. I don't do anything related to that degree anymore. But I appreciate the compliment. As a Port fan, opening round sucks. Yeah, the thing is, though, what is it, March 6th today? I feel like that's pretty early to start the season anyway. So all they're really doing is bringing football forward around us, I reckon. And the season's now 24 rounds, right? where it was, or is it? It's not 25, is it? Hang on. Is it 25? No, it's 24. Did we have 24 last year, though? Because 23 with buys and gather round was added on. How have we lost a round there? My brain's not braining. What time is it over there? It is 8:48 a.m. So I got up at 7, got my coffee, set up for the stream, and starting my day here. Darth, I love the banner and song, particularly the song. Great choice. Who'd I replace Laird and McRae with? What I'll do is actually get my team up here in the background. Oops. Gotta switch browsers. I was so close to edging just then. Messy. Rogie started his new uni course. Oh, wow. That's sick. How are you enjoying it? Like, how far through it are you? What time of year is it? Is it a month in? Is it less than that? Gather round makes 24. But we've also got opening round. Oh, is it opening round plus 24? So it is kind of 25. Rogie, with McRae and Laird, it's hard to pick the exact replacement because I moved a few other things around as well. I can't remember if I had Yo in my team for that video or not, but he's now in my back line. Steele and Newcomb. I just think there's a little bit of upside there. Could be talked out of it. Those are the two mids. But McRae, and then I moved Jordan to the forward line instead of McRae. So my forward line has got no money in it, but I'd rather have some of these guys in the forward line than in the midfield, if that makes sense. Matt is a legend. I am in England just for this year and last year. Just started this week. Cool. I'm kind of jealous, mate. That sounds sick, honestly. 24 and a half indeed. Oh, Hoops Crew, welcome, mates. Good to have you. Shout out Hoops Crew. Great Geelong channel. Yeah, it's great to have footy back. Some real proper cameras. Oh, Rogie. That'd be so good. You can come join True Footy Enterprises with your new skill set and teach me about cameras. Nah, that's so cool, mate. I'm kind of jealous. I'm more jealous of the fact that you're like 22, right? Brendan. Well said, mate. I haven't really chatted to any girls for the last 3 months. I've kind of got this weird tension with this Costa coffee girl. This is why I go Costa every day. That's not why. I love caffeine. But I can't really tell if she knows I exist, you know? It's one of those. I think I'm flirting with her. Not sure if I've even made any kind of dent. Swans inside 50 here. Thanks, Nosy. It is good to have football back, that's for sure, and in a real competitive way. And we're going to start to learn things about teams as well. Whereas the preseason feels like you can't really take it seriously. Bournemouth is cool. I mean, I haven't been, but I think it's cool that you live there. It is going to be an empire, Rogie. It is. We're building a Death Star already. Jesse got Riz. I really don't think that's true. I really don't. Like I said, I'm not sure if she knows I exist. I'm actually okay when I don't care, but I think if I when I go there with the intention of flirting, sometimes it's like, quiet morning, love. Don't say that. I don't think my generation could get away with saying love, although they do say love here a lot, actually, male and female. and it's acceptable. Whereas I feel like it's a bit weird in Australia to say for like a young man to call a 45-year-old customer, "How you doing, love?" Like I feel like that'd be weird in Australia. Heaney goals. Sydney have had a few inside 50s in a row, and they put it on the scoreboard, so they're looking. Well, they've got the upper hand right at the moment. Just say good day at the pub. That's right. Yeah, but that's normally how you go about it, right, Brendan? Well, that's where I am okay. It's just like when it's somebody at work in like a busy coffee shop. I hope she's not watching this. I'm sure she's a huge footy fan. No, it's just awkward. It's just awkward. So for those who missed me say it earlier, Joycey might be able to join this stream shortly. I think he's just finishing up at work. Some people have real jobs, I guess. 14-18 is indeed the score, Chris. As the D's go forward through Viney, up and under kick. Langdon. Oh, here we go. Spargo, he's had one. Oh, he's got one, I mean. That would have been a dope goal. Imagine if she was an AFL fantasy freak. It'd be weird because she's Northern English, but you never know. I often think it would be super trippy if particularly in England, if people knew me and then just saw me on YouTube. That would be so weird. It does happen every now and then. Like in Australia. Ooh, intercept. Like my cousin got a message from his mate saying like, "Who is this bloke? I fucking know this guy." Excuse my language. And I had met him at my cousin's engagement party 5 years ago, but he knew my face. So it'd be kind of trippy for some people, I think. That's a fair point, Kev. I didn't really follow the fallout. I don't know if the family's made... Oh, here we go. Sorry. Let's get Joycelyn into the chat. Howdy.
Hello, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you? Welcome to True Footy Live. It's the first time in a while.
Yeah, good. Great to be back again.
Yeah, it's good. We got the chat. Can you see the chat?
I'll just bring it up shortly. Having a few audio difficulties. I've never felt like such a boomer.
Why is that? What happened?
Oh, just trying to get the footy hooked up on one screen, and then this hooked up on another screen, and then the YouTube chat on another screen.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you probably
I've managed to get the footy on with no volume, and you on here, which is not too bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I've got mine turned down. Whereabouts is the ball on the field for you?
There was just a point.
Perfect. Kick. That just happened to me as well. That's all right. We're close enough, I think. So, yes, welcome back to the chat. He says we need to get Bush as well. The link's in the chat. I'll shoot a message to Bush to make sure he knows, like, he's invited. There we go. Sweet. Were you just talking, or is that? Were you just talking? Because I think your audio is tripping out a little bit. And now you're echoing. Brendan McKay says he's got, got 3 screens: footy, YouTube, and DT Live. That's sick. That's commitment. That is an overstimulus of football content. Yeah, your audios are all like echoing and reverbing. He's self-muted. Finally. Nah. Where can you watch it other than KO? I'm watching on KO. There's if you're overseas, there's like Watch AFL. You have to pay for them all though. But I was just talking about the Webster family comments. That was one of the questions. Oh, Coast Club's in the chat. Shout out. Oh, I actually missed a comment from Rogie as well. He said dads are back together. Yeah. Joyce, I don't know if you're aware, but you are muted. I don't know if you did it on purpose. Okay, cool. Just in case. Music with Rahul says he's in Melbourne. Okay. Is this just not on free to wear there? I would have thought. Busher says he'll jump on from the freeway. Classic.
How's that sounding?
Yeah, better. Yeah. We had a question from Kev's Magpies before about, well, he made a comment like he thought there wasn't enough being said about like the Webster family comments after Jimmy Webster knocked that out, that Simpkin guy out. That Simpkin guy, what am I saying? Simpkin.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look, was it really? I think, yeah, I don't know. If there's one way to make kind of your family look very bogan on a national...
Tasmanian, I think.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think Jimmy handled himself very, very well in the days after. He was very, very apologetic. So, yeah, obviously he made a mistake. It was pretty bad, as we sort of discussed in the group chat. It was basically the textbook, right, thing of what not to do. You know, in some ways, at least it kind of lays down the law to every other player in the competition.
Yeah.
You know, if you hit someone, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. I agree. I'm trying to get in the head of his family making those comments and not trying to excuse it, but just trying to understand how they thought that was okay. And I can only think that they thought it was more like
a protective thing or something.
It's certainly a protective thing. That would be your first instinct if that happened to a sibling of mine.
Yeah.
And just would have had no idea how badly that was going to be received, possibly not realizing how many people were going to see it and how big the incident was going to be. That's all I can think. But it's still, I wouldn't have put a laughing face for sure.
I was going to say, yeah, like the protective thing, I think you'd more be like, you know, if you don't know Jimmy, stuff like that, not good night, Simpkin.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Good enough, Simpkin.
I think that's what one of them said, like, good night, Simpkin. And...
Oh, I thought you said not good enough, Simpkin.
Oh, no. Good night. Good night, Simpkin.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you can't really defend that. Can't really defend that.
Happily. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Did you just see that?
No. Oh, here we go, Papley. Inside 50. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, shit. That's a good goal. All right. So at least we've established I'm a few seconds behind you.
Beauty. That's how long the cable takes to get from Australia to the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Rogie says he'll jump on. Rogie, we should do a stream together. Maybe not today because we'll probably keep it to the setup we've got. We might go with Bush joining us shortly. I don't know. But it would be good to have you on the stream, mate. I don't know if I'm going to do multiple this weekend. I haven't really decided yet. But yeah, we'll figure it out. People have screenshot it too before they even deleted the comments. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't think you can really defend it like they seem like idiots, but I do think it's entirely likely they had no idea how much that was going to go viral. And I wonder if they would have thought differently. It's not like they all have their own big profiles on social media. I'd imagine like they've probably got the same amount of followers as anyone else. Yeah. But still, yeah, it's very silly.
So any early observations from the game, Jesse?
I've been pretty absorbed with the chat. I have sort of noticed it was seesawing. I thought Melbourne looked like they had a little bit of the ascendancy, noticed a bit of Viney. And then since then, And particularly since you've come on, we've seen a lot of Sydney inside 50s, and they're looking the slicker of the two teams. That is about as deep as my analysis goes right now. I'll just have a quick look on the stats.
Early, I've seen Heaney around the ball a bit, so probably not a huge surprise with Mills and Parker out, but
and Adams.
It looks like that's right. Looks like they've just gone with Heaney back in there at the moment.
I wonder if Heaney would be a decent fantasy shout. Are you playing fantasy this year, Joyce?
I am, yes. I'm more draft focused than classic, I've got to say.
Yeah.
But
that's what West Coast is like. We're very draft focused these days.
Yeah.
Not really into the football cliche.
Yeah, you don't worry about the league. Don't worry about the points. Just all about the draft.
Heaney has 35 fantasy points to this moment with a goal. So not bad.
Impressive.
Rogue says, didn't his brother get done a few years ago for filming porn without the girl knowing? I have no idea. How did people know that?
Who's that? Daniel Busher?
Webster's brother, I presume.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Eagles player, Jordan Jones? I wouldn't be surprised if you don't.
Yes, I know. And I know the story.
Yeah. That was crazy. I remember that guy getting drafted. I think he was like one pick before Walters, and he played 2 games for us.
Yeah,
similar sort of stuff.
Kind of approaching, physically sick territory, isn't it? Like mentally ill.
Yeah.
Another one I'm keen to have a look at is Trent Rivers. A few people on Big Footy seem to think he is a likely replacement for Angus Brayshaw for those mid minutes and a bit more behind the ball as well, I think. It kind of makes sense, I think. So he's another one I'm keen to see how he goes.
It sounds like there's a few options in that midfield because I think Tom Sparrow played a fair bit of mid, as did Christian Salem. That being said, Oliver's also back into the side. So I don't know how that all sits, like who's going to spend more time there. But Rivers, as a halfback flank, is still a pretty damn good player, so they can probably just chill with him. I don't know.
Do you rate Shaki? Someone says in the chat, Jesse.
I don't, but that could be to a little bit of ignorance. I kind of more think of him as a, former high draft pick that never really came on, and I don't think he's ever really been established best 22 anywhere. Like he was at the Dogs for a while, hey, and that kind of shows how much I paid attention to him. I forgot that he was I don't have
Lions and Dogs.
I don't know what he did with his career really.
Yeah, it's hard to believe he's like 26 already, right? Like he's just one of those guys that you think, oh, he's 22 every year, like a Jesse Lingard type. But
he's the same as Wintering, right? Like that was 2015, I think.
Yeah. So this is his potentially 8th season in the league, and we haven't seen that much. Having said that, with his athletic ability, his height, I'm not surprised someone, takes a chance with a list spot on him. Probably wouldn't cost too much on the salary bill now.
I actually don't know. Is he a forward these days or is he a backman? I've kind of forgotten.
I think forward. He was playing just there for Melbourne, and Melbourne had well documented forward issues at the back end of last year. So it's probably not a huge surprise that they're going with that option.
Yeah. Just having a little chat. We got Logan saying Saints will finish top 4. I don't hate it. I don't really trust them enough, but I do think the talent's there. Excuse me. What do you think of the Saints?
I'm generally a fan. I think I spoke about them on the podcast. I think
can't remember.
Well balanced. I think that's something I like about them. I think they got decent backline, decent midfield, decent forward line. Any of the lines like the best in the league? Probably not, but they're all
Maybe their backline.
Their backline is very good, to be fair. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make is I think they're well balanced in all areas of the field.
Yep.
Good mix of youth and maturity as well. I really rate Max King. I think Membry's serviceable. We'll probably like have him in the Tabernar territory where it's kind of like can do a job on his day. I think. Gets a bit of stick, but yeah, I'd go to Membry and Tabernar over like a Josh Bruce any day personally.
Oh really? Yeah. Their smalls are pretty underrated. Well, I don't know if they're underrated, but they're good. Butler and Higgins in particular, they do kick a lot of goals. And then Machito, like I do see the potential there. I just think the last couple of years they've just ended seasons so poorly, but they've started the year really well, and it could be a sign that they could just click, or maybe there's something mental there. Probably not mental, but yeah, that's why I didn't have him in the top 4.
I think Ross is a good kind of coach for like consolidation as well. Like he's a good coach to kind of get the best out of a group, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of a lot of his career has been spent with mature teams. So like, with Secura, and then, took over Fremantle when they were relatively mature, and then undertook a rebuild. And, as an outsider, I'm not going to say he failed the rebuild. I think what happened was it was just a massive rebuild that took a long time.
Yeah.
And therefore,
I think you could say the rebuild failed, to be fair. That's not being disrespectful.
No, but I genuinely don't know if I'd make that call because of how young that list got. Like it felt like the rebuild was super aggressive. And, the players from that draft, like 2017, like those early drafts, are still not even in their prime yet. So it feels wrong to say that the rebuild failed. That being said, obviously he got sacked. So there was something along the line that suggested he wasn't performing enough.
I think my biggest criticism is I think they tried to do a Hawthorn, like a bit of a quick turnaround, brought in, like Colin Sylvia, Harley Bennell, Cam McCarthy. They kind of brought in these players who they thought could have immediate impact and maybe ignore.
Gumbleton was way before, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was. And that didn't work.
That's true. It's funny to think about like forgotten obscure players for your club. And I forgot that Callum Morton played like at least one game for us. I was like, what the hell?
Callum Morton? Or
Caleb?
Oh, Cale, that's right. I forgot him.
Yeah, I forgot he existed for a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a random one. I'm trying to think who else we had. I think
I've always loved a good Josh Thurgood reference.
Yeah. Matt as a legend reckons top 5 for the Saints as well.
Yeah.
There was a bit of chat about Lockie Hunter, injured, dropped, and Erogi has come through with the goods and said he is injured. I do think there was a bit of speculation going into the year that he might not be locked in for the best 22, and then Caleb Windsor sort of emerged, and maybe Billings has come in since then. I don't know. So it'd be interesting to see. It might be tougher to get them Hunter and Langdon playing in the same team. I don't know. Depends how young Windsor goes. Speaking of, he has 4 disposals.
As does Salem. I think Oliver Bartel was asking how Salem was going.
There you go. Yes, I haven't really noticed him in the centre yet. But again, I think because Clayton Oliver's back in the side.
Yeah.
Who we got at the centre there? Who's on the right of screen?
Wow.
Is that Salem? It's hard. My screen's gone blurry. It is Salem.
Grundy has just crunched gone. You'll be seeing that in a moment.
Woo. Oh, he has too, yeah.
One of the things I heard today, I think it was on SEN, they were talking about Grundy, his competitiveness, kind of underrated. People don't see him as that sort of guy. He's a little bit quirky, right? A little bit of kind of a hippie, but apparently, ultra competitive. behind closed doors, and they were saying, yeah, this game tonight, he'll be very aggressive and very keen to get on top of Gawn.
Gross. It makes sense because he'd probably have a chip on his shoulder after how last year transpired, and it is still one of the biggest head scratching stories ever. Just like Melbourne being like, "No, we can go with Grawn and Grundy, Grawn and Gundy. We can go with that." And then 17 or whatever rounds in, they're just like, that long-term contract we signed. Let's do away with that. That is bizarre. Like if West Coast did that, I would criticize them for being like, "What the hell? Like, what was the foresight?" But I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's not a massive cost to Melbourne. It just looked sloppy, I think. That was my take on it.
I think, it's kind of, they were, I don't know, it was detrimental to Gawn's game, wasn't it? Just to push him forward, just to get Grundy in the team. And I really rate Grundy, don't get me wrong. I think he is elite. However, Gawn, I think, is probably the best ruckman I've ever seen. And he is so dominant that, like, you just want Gawn around the football as much as possible, in my opinion.
I agree. He's certainly the best of this generation, I'd say. Yeah. Depends how you define a generation, though, because that could mean a decade or it could mean the last 4 years. In my head, I mean, probably post-Sandy, I'm at least saying that.
Well, I think personally, I have him number one that I've seen now, above Cox, probably. And I rate Cox, don't get me wrong, but the way I've seen Gawn literally tear apart teams and in big finals as well is just, unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm just more hesitant, not because Dean Cox is an Eagle, but I feel like I wasn't really equipped to judge football that well when Dean Cox was in his prime. And so I feel like I'd be doing a disservice, but I would probably put them all certainly in that category. I'm sorry, I put Gawn roughly in that category because I do think he's been pretty much the best, like, since he hit his prime. Whenever he started being good, he's been pretty much up there. Got 24 in the chat, guys. Thank you for being here. This is fun. This is way better than doing it by myself. I'm not going to lie. Like, I do like doing them by myself, but they're a bit tiring. That's for sure.
Rogue Riot says, Grundy not inspiring confidence for fantasy. Interesting. Yeah, he was, I think, on a lot of people's radar. I think he's in my side at the moment.
He's in mine too. I might do a little downgrade for Tristan Cherry. But then again, he is also playing against Gawn.
The best. Yeah, that's
right. And you think, so he's down 11 to 9 hit-outs at the moment, and you think against another team that might change. I know hit-outs is only one stat. So I'm not saying Rogi's wrong, but maybe against different opposition, you'd think this would be a relatively low-scoring opposition for him. And it's out of the way in opening round, which is actually a plus. So who knows?
The interesting one to me so far is Goulden, 4 disposals.
Yeah, right.
I think I spoke about this on the podcast as well. I feel like he's potentially taggable, especially without Parker, without Mills, without those guys to protect him. You know, Heaney and Warner.
Yeah,
is not really as menacing, is it, as Parker and Mills?
I think you combine the absolute breakout year he had with the fact that they're missing 3 first-choice midfielders. I think he's going to have a tough start to the season. But, 2 of those injuries I don't think are long-term in terms of Parker. Like, I think broke his arm, but I think let's call it like 4 weeks into the season.
4 weeks,
yeah. Same thing with Adams. I think it's the first month. Mills is a little bit more long-term, but only half a season. So could see him finish the year well. But, I agree with your logic. Also, since we were asked about Salem, I have noticed him at a number of centre bounces and stoppages. So it seems like the midfield time is continuing.
Okay.
And there he is now. Was that deliberate? Because that was a perfect kick if it was deliberate, out of bounds. A few comments on Liam Jarrah. I do love obscure footballers, man. To me, he wasn't that obscure, though, but I think that was just because when he joined Melbourne, West Coast and Melbourne were the bottom 2 teams, and on Big Footy, we had a big rivalry, and so there was so much talk of Liam Jarrah. It feels like he had a profile rather than being like super obscure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Tim Ruffles is another one.
Tim
But
Ruffle. Wow.
he did an ACL, right? But I
Yeah, I
remember,
seem to remember twice him being like hit, and he was so skinny that like you could just see his body could not cope with it.
yeah. I feel like this next generation of forgotten Eagles, at least, will be like Zach Langdon, Sam Petrevsky-Seton. Like, not so much now because Petrevsky-Seton played 100 games at Carlton, but like people who are kids now are going to be like our age in 15 years and be like, oh man, Sam Petrevsky-Seton as an Eagle, that was so obscure.
Isn't Zach Langdon like one of the only players ever who's had their contract paid out early, despite being like totally fit and like culturally a good bloke?
You know what? I don't think it's extremely rare, but I don't think it happens a lot anymore. So you make a good point. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I feel like 15 to 10 years ago, or 10 years ago, call it, when I was watching fight, I don't think it was super uncommon. Maybe people are, I was going to say people might, maybe it's because trading's easier. I don't know, like, because I was going to say contracting's got better, but it's probably gotten worse. Like, you sign up a massive contract to a player and then you just trade them 3 years into it because you can't afford them anymore. Like, that does happen. But maybe back in the day, I think what does happen sometimes is they did move them to the rookie list for a while. So if they had 2 years left on a contract or 1 year left, instead of listing them, they would move their contract to the rookie list. And I think then a portion of it gets paid out of the salary cap and the rest of it in, if that makes sense.
I see.
G'day, Jed. Welcome to the chat, mate. Patrick Naish is another great call.
Yeah, wow.
As the Swans get another goal, they're certainly looking the stronger of the two teams so far.
Who was they were talking about him on Dylan Friends the other day, the Richmond ruckman with the blonde dreadlocks?
Vickery?
No, with the blonde dreadlocks.
You thinking of Nason? Ben Nason, is small forward?
Oh, that's right. No, he wasn't a small forward, was he? Was it
Ben
Ben
Nason
Nason?
was small forward, yeah. I think you might be mixing two people in your head, Ben Nason
Yeah,
and
maybe.
maybe Vickery.
Dreadlocks mixed with...
Unless there's another bloke. Aaron Black, another,
Wow.
the West Coast version. There was the other Aaron Black. Did he ever go to Fremantle? The other Aaron Black?
No,
No,
there's a
it was
few
Geelong
rumors.
and North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was, yeah. What did he? I can't remember. He might have come to Freo for like a year, maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was just a trade rumor or not, but it definitely happened. Real ones remember Tony Armstrong playing for the Pies. I remember him at Sydney and Adelaide. I don't actually remember the Collingwood part, Rogie. Do you remember Tony Armstrong as a footballer?
I got to admit, no, I didn't. When I saw like him in the media and stuff, and he was talking about how he was an ex-player, I was like, oh, right, I don't even remember this guy. But I know he played, yeah. Did he not play like Sydney as well?
Sydney, Adelaide, and Collingwood, if I'm not mistaken. But like probably 50 games total, like less than 50 games total, I would have said, but not sure.
That's still pretty good.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's a funny dude.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty good. Good character in the media, which we always need.
Yeah.
Someone give Busher a TV show. Am I right?
What's that?
I said someone give Busher a TV show.
I'm trying, mate. This is the best I got. James Gwilt. I feel like Gwilt was pretty decent.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Saints halfback.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
George agrees with you. I just noticed the subtle mute there. I haven't seen him.
Sorry, the baby's out of the cot
again. Yeah, Joycey refers to his dog as his baby, and he puts it in nappies and puts it in a cot. It's really weird. I haven't seen the clip. I presume you're talking about Armstrong, Rogie. Taylor Garner from North Melbourne. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember a lot of these names through the draft, and I don't think I followed Taylor Garner's career after that.
Yeah, Rogue Riot has brought up that, Goulden's almost doubled his touches since I brought him up.
Oh, there you go. Bit of speed there from Chandler. Decent player, Cade Chandler. Do you remember Greg Tivendale?
It's not even a real person. That's a character.
He played for Richmond. He might not be obscure because he might have just been at the end of his career when I started watching footy, but he was like a half-forward flanker for Richmond. This would have been like peak, or maybe the start of Richmond becoming really... I think they had a good year in 01, but like most of his career would have been a decent player in a terrible team.
Do you remember Bandit Healer?
Bandit Healer?
He played for the Dogs.
That's not real. It sounds like a breed of dog.
No, it's good. Look him up.
Bandit Healer. All right. Okay, Rogue's laughing, so I'm not falling for this.
Anyone with a kid will know who Bandit is.
Oh, okay. Oh, who is that Port player? Blue Waffle. Google that. Bit of a halfback flanker. Richard
I do remember. He was quite a dour defender, wasn't he?
Who's that? Sorry, Blue Waffle or Richard Chamberlain?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a dour defender indeed. Yeah. Trying to think of jokes, but I kind of just want to move on as well. Brad Dalziel, yeah. I remember being pumped the Eagles traded for Brad Dalziel because he had like 32 disposals on debut against us in like 2010. And I was like, geez, 32 disposals. He must be a good player. And then we traded pick 22 for him. And he became a whipping boy from debut onwards.
Yeah. Early 2014, I'm like, I'll do anything for Lewis Taylor and Brad Dalziel to come to Freo.
Who was the first one, sorry? Richard Tambling?
Louis Taylor.
Oh, Louis Taylor. Louis Taylor, yeah. Oh, what about some club? Oh, is that a goal from Neil Bullen? Looks like it is. Nice. These kind of needed that. I feel like if Sydney got the next one, that would have been a little bit of strife. Peter Street, Tom Swift. Oh, I loved Tom Swift. I was the biggest Tom Swift defender. Murray Newman. Braden Sire, better known as Phil In. That's right. True. I feel like there was a lot of love for Braden Sire. Maybe Finley McRae is the new Braden Sire. Ruggy's not going to like that.
Yeah, is that because Sire was like Dane Swan without the football talent, basically?
You mean like off-field?
Yeah, basically. Like a...
Was he? I just don't remember that.
He was a bit of a rascal.
Yeah, right. I think the fill-in comment is because he played like a fill-in for his netball team secretly. And
Yeah.
Ruggy says he'd take that. What about whipping boys for your football club? Who have been the biggest whipping boys since you've been watching footy? And I'll put that to the chat as well. Who are the biggest whipping boys for your club you support?
We've had a few at Freo. I do remember going to games as a little kid and poor old Sean McManus would cop it from the crowd, which is a bit harsh because he was actually not that bad. And
I think he was a decent player. He was all right.
Yeah, and he was very 100% effort as well, but real tough.
Mm.
So he was one. Zach Dawson copped it a bit.
Tabiner, or is that just Busher? Oh, that's definitely Tab.
Yeah, Tabs cops it a bit.
It's just for the chat. We have this running joke with Busher who hates Matt Tabiner. And every now and then me and Joycey message each other separately and go, should we mess with Bush and talk up Matt Tabiner heaps in this chat? And it always works. He always takes the bait. He always gets really flamed. And we pushed it so far the other night. I think I even made the claim that Tabin is being lined up as the next Freo CEO. And then I thought you really kind of pushed it as well when you suggested, like, in Fremantle's all time, you probably have, like, I can't remember who you said the other one, but you said Tabiner at full forward, Pav on the bench.
Yeah, I said J-Lo and Tabs,
Yeah,
key
that's
forwards, Pav on the bench. And then I also, Pav was in the team for his leadership abilities, Tab for his football skills.
right. Yeah. Class personified. We've got a few shouts. So Ben Sharp from the Eagles, I think that's an obscure one. I met Ben Sharp actually at a footy clinic at Hay Park. And then he got charged years later with, like, armed robbery. I think he got cooked on meth and robbed a convenience store or something like that. Kane Turner, Xavier Ellis.
I know it's been stated before, but the Eagles of the early 2000s, the penitentiary percentage is very high.
Nah, man, don't know what you're referring to. Yeah, there's some cooked units in that team in hindsight. They were amazing footballers. I mean, there's some good eggs and a number of bad eggs, but the bad eggs were quite bad, to be fair. Xavier Ellis, yeah. Not obscure, Xavier Ellis, or a whipping boy, I would have thought, Darth. But I like Xavier Ellis. I actually think he was a good underrated pickup for us. But kind of a forgotten Eagle. Maybe not, but he's more of a media personality now. But, yeah.
What about Josh Wooden?
I mean, good obscure one. I don't remember if he was a whipping boy. I think I'm
not a whipping boy. Sorry, just obscure.
Obscure, yeah.
Rowan Jones is the one I think of for the Eagles.
But do they count as obscure if they were a premiership player and had a long career? Because Rowan Jones he might have just been, like, forgotten.
Yeah, sorry, I went back to whipping boy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but yes, sorry.
I remember having a tantrum about. I remember having a tantrum about Rowan Jones in the 06 grand final. Actually, that's just reminded me. I was like, I remember Mum sitting to my right and Dad sitting to my left, and Mum was like, "Why are you boys so upset?" And we were both like, "Bloody Rowan Jones!" In the end, he had, like, some great play to save the game in the dying minutes too.
Yeah, I do remember that actually. He had like a one-on-one that he kind of bodied like 2 or 3 Swans players.
Yeah, exactly. Good player.
Judd, I've heard Judd say that he'd be like in the top couple he'd pick for any side he played in, just because of the work he did to allow Cousins and Judd and Kerr to actually just hunt the ball.
Yeah, that's probably players that probably follow that path. I'd say at West Coast, the Hutchings, probably not as good. But even Jamie Cripps, I think, does a lot of that stuff. Again, maybe not the same standard, but pretty high standard, I'd say. It's the off-the-ball stuff with certain players that makes them really valuable.
Hutchings had a incredibly good grand final, and people don't speak about that, but he absolutely locked down side bottom so well.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember going into the Grandy, side bottom had some really big games. And Hutchings did very well on him.
Yeah, no, I do remember that actually. Yeah, I mean, I think Hutchings is dropping off and then also losing form and then retiring. I think we've never really found a replacement. Like, our midfield, I mean, it's dire at the moment, but we don't have the next Hutchings or anything like that. I'm still trying to find all the other pieces first, to be fair. Josh Hill
teams don't really play. It's very rare to get like an out and out like tagger, right?
Yeah, I suppose it's probably a dying thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that 18 period we had Hutchings and they had Greenwood.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's more about like team defense now, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, team defense, and I think just backing your midfield to beat the other midfield, right? And it's better for the viewer too, because we get to see all these elite guys, not just have someone literally hanging off them for the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also a lot to give up offensively to just have a negating player entirely. I feel like Salem's really worked into this game. Just getting a lot of possessions now. So we'll go back to the chat. Josh Hill from the Western Bulldogs. I, as an Eagles fan, forgot he played for the Bulldogs for a while. Like, I saw footage. I edited a video that came out this morning, and there's footage of him taking a mark for the Western Bulldogs. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Gary Ablett's brother, Nathan, kind of obscure, yeah, but premiership player, I think. I think he played in 07. Oh, D's inside 50. This game's become quite dour as Petrarca hits the post. 1 goal, 8 now for the Demons. Rogie says the 2018 grand final was cancelled. Yeah, I've explained why Collingwood didn't show up. Am I right? Well, they led for the 87% of the game.
I was going to say, like, after you won by, what, a point? 2 points.
Yeah, not the best comeback, but still.
Oh,
Rogie said he can't hurt him anymore. It's true, he can't hurt anyone anymore. just me.
Did anyone else see that Swans player just absolutely just cop a fist to the head? I missed who it was.
No, I didn't.
Poor fella.
Eagles whipping boys. Maston, Nelson, and Brownlow medalist Pritis. Those are the 3 that come to mind. I'm trying to think, in the current team, who are the biggest whipping boys? Sheed and Gaff, actually, without question.
Yeah, Gaff has copped a bit in the last few years. He has gone. He went downhill very steeply.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of his own form, but also that drop in form leading to him being played into silly roles.
Yeah.
And understandably, it's kind of like, well, if you're not winning 30 touches anymore, you're getting 19 on a wing, we're going to put you on a forward flank. And some of that was injury related. And he literally had 3 possessions in a game last year. I was like, far out. I never thought I'd see the day. Gaff used to get like 30 even when he wasn't playing well.
Yeah, he was pretty comfortably like one of the best wingers in the league for a long time.
Yeah, his best year was literally right up until he hit Brayshaw. He won All-Australian despite missing the last 3 games and arguably our best player that year. It's hard to call one best player for us. We were a pretty even team. But conceivably would have been our best player. Yeah. That year, maybe, in isolation, he could have been described as the best player. But yeah. He says, how did he win a Brownlow? I think he's referring to Pritis. Super consistent, really wins a lot of clearances, and we do see a lot of those clearance mids do win Brownlows. That's kind of been a trend. Like Neil's 1-2, Pfeiffer's 1-2, Wines, Cripps, those are all the recent winners. And Pritis is the same type of player. And while he's not as good as any of those guys, he was super consistent and therefore racked up the votes and was a bit of a shock Brownlow medalist, but also probably didn't deserve hate.
Pritis is probably still a better winner than like Cooney, I reckon.
Yeah. Certainly over the course of their careers. Like, I can't really remember Cooney's 08 season. Like, I couldn't tell you that it was amazing because it was
good. He was good.
But like the rest of his career wasn't as consistent as Pritis, so I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd probably also say Wines probably hasn't had the same career as Pritis, even if, the best version of Wines is probably better, maybe, just because he's not as limited.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because Pritis was pretty much good from, like, he was good for a while. Like, he stayed at the same level. But, I don't think he was a particularly great player. Ashton Hams, good shout. I liked Ashton Hams.
Yeah.
Post-suspension Gaff was shit. Yeah,
He did go downhill a bit after that.
he
I
definitely
do
did.
seem to remember.
He definitely did, but I'm thinking in 2019 he was still pretty good. I remember his comeback game against Collingwood. He had like 37 touches,
Yeah.
and we beat the Pies of the G. Like, it wasn't as simple as saying from that moment, but yeah, obviously it's been a slow decline since then. Matthew Rosa, true, sub in the grand final. AFL YouTubers guy says all of Melbourne's highlights tonight has been a long bomb to no one. I have noticed that too. It's so frustrating. We don't have a forward. Yeah, I need to probably pay attention a little bit more closely to keep commenting on that. But I don't feel like some of their inside 50s have really given their forwards a chance either. And a lot of their shots on goal have been scrambled kicks. I actually don't remember the last Melbourne set shot.
They got some decent, like Fritsch is a gun, I reckon.
Yeah.
Van Rooyen's got massive potential.
Yeah.
So they've got the tools there. Obviously, we spoke about Shaki's come in.
Petty, perhaps.
And add like Smalls, add Cozzy Pickett in there, and Neil Bullen's not bad. Like I feel like the tools are there.
Yeah. Just having a look at some stats. Melbourne possessing it more, both on the inside and outside, contested and uncontested. Sydney have a lot more uncontested marks, though. Sydney slightly ahead in clearances. Melbourne 17 tackles inside 50 to 6, and inside 50 is basically even. Interestingly, though, Sydney have the worst inside 50 efficiency. 7 scoring shots to 9. So I guess it just counts as inside 50. Like a behind would also count as effective in that sense, if that makes sense. Like, just because you just generate a score and Melbourne have more scores, so that makes sense. There you go. Andrew McDougall, that's so funny. I have this memory. I never let my dad forget this, but I have this memory. We were playing St Kilda. I have a really weird memory for Eagles games of that era. Like, I can remember the score, and I think it was 63-19. We were losing to St Kilda, and McDougall takes the ball out of a stoppage. He might have even been rucking. He snaps it over his left shoulder and kicks a goal. And I remember my dad going, "I like McDougall. He's good." And I've never let him forget it. And every time he says any player is good at West Coast, I go, "I like McDougall. He's good." Because, yeah, it didn't really turn out that way.
Is Amadi running with the cornrows now?
He is, yeah.
Remember when Busher got cornrows when he went to Bali? About
When was
5 or 6 years ago.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It must have been pre-podcast, because I don't...
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't recall him having cornrows on the True Footy podcast.
You know that who's that UFC fighter, like O'Malley or something?
Oh, yeah, Sugar Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been following the YouTube boxing at all? Like, have you seen, not that he's a YouTuber, but Ryan Garcia? Have you followed at all what's going on with him?
No.
Do you know who he is?
Sorry.
Nah,
no.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, like, he was this... he's a legitimate boxer, and I think he was friends with Jake Paul and Logan Paul, so he's kind of tied up in that world without actually being part of it. But he's a legitimate boxer, and he's actually pretty good. And he's like this wholesome Mexican guy, I think, and seems like a pretty sweet guy, but super talented. At least that was my impression. But anyway, he's kind of like causing a ripple now because he's clearly coked out of his mind. Like, he's completely gone down this wrong path, and he's like on podcasts and twitching and calling people out and calling out Jake Paul and saying he's fucking a loser and an idiot, and it's just come out of nowhere. Right. He's gone on a complete, like, Ben Cousins-esque breakdown. It's crazy. So 8 seconds to go, at least on my screen. We got Langdon lining up, so he should kick after the siren here. Ryan is losing his mind on Twitter. I haven't even looked at Twitter. I've just seen a bit of YouTube stuff. I mean, he calls Jake Paul calls him, and he's just so aggressive. And his girlfriend's actually from Perth. Some OnlyFans girl, I think. Pretending not to know.
Just deleting my subscription right now.
Petra saying a terrible game to start the season. I don't mind it. I don't mind a bit of a scrap.
It's been pretty contested.
That is a good, important goal for the D's. I reckon that will give them a lift going into the second half. They needed that. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to just refresh my water bottle. Talk amongst yourself, Joyce.
Let's go to the chat. All of Melbourne's highlights have been long bomb to no one. Yep, unfortunately.
This format of live streaming is so much more enjoyable.
What's that, sorry?
I said this way of live streaming is so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, like not just on your own, you mean?
Yeah, it's so good. It's also like in StreamYard, I was saying before, I can see myself way clearer than I could on previous live streams with OBS.
Yeah.
It's only taken me fucking years to get up to what everyone else is doing. UCat's in the chat. Welcome, UCat. He says, lads. Speaking of StreamYard.
UCat?
Big Dockers fan.
Nice.
And I mean, big because apparently he's had a growth spurt.
Right. Congratulations.
Yeah. Druzy, UCat's from Perth. I don't know if you've crossed paths at all, but he, I forget how old he is. He's 16 or 17, and Druzy met him the other day. Oh, saw him the other day, and he's like, yeah, UCat's like 6'1" now. Oh, Mason's off to work. Today feels like a good day for a half day. Nice, mate. Enjoy. It is nice to have the season back. And as a content creator, it's nice to have 25 weeks of football before finals now. Really helps the old rent money.
How's Dermy's hair?
I see a blonde woman on my screen. Is that who you're referring to? Jeez, Dermy's a bit of a...
He's got a bit of a perm kind of thing going on, doesn't he?
I haven't got him on my screen yet. What do you think of Dermot Brereton?
Yeah, I don't mind him. He cops a lot of hate, but he's all right, I think. He's all right. What about you?
I've heard anecdotes of people who have met him, and he's just been the absolute worst human.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how much I should say on here because at the end of the day, I'm passing on a big footy rumor, but
there's rumors.
It is a rumor, and it's. Oh, yeah, I see him now. Oh God, he does look a little. What's the word? Maybe I'll just leave that one. I feel like I'm getting to the point with this channel. I can't just like fire random shots and like throw out big footy rumors in the same way I could before. So, but yeah. That being said, as far I actually don't mind his commentary that much. Like he's kind of unique and has some interesting insights, but I don't really pay that much attention.
All I'll say is him and Richard Gere have a lot in common.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't know how many people in the chat are old enough to know that reference.
I'm pretty sure it's everywhere online. You could look it up if you wanted to.
True.
That he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, true. Rogie can't stand Brereton, only says obvious shit. Fair enough. I think for me, I just tune in and out. And I feel like when I tune in, I've generally noticed some good insights. But you're not the first person to tell me that either.
I do think I have noticed, I think his like just knowledge is very high.
I think so
too. Tactical things.
Yeah. I think it's just he adds something different to the classic stuff. I don't know. But again, I don't watch like him on a continued basis. So Rogie does have a Freo question for you. How secure in the 22 is Jeremy Sharp?
Oh,
for fantasy.
Not secure.
That was my thought too.
Yeah, 50-50, I reckon.
This is the thing with like I feel for fantasy purposes only. I was like, he might have 12 touches on debut and then cop the sub. And then, I don't think it's a really good shout when you've got similar price players who will probably play a whole game at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't obviously know that much. I don't, work with Freo or anything, but I think it's 50-50. I think the way Freo are going to play is we're going to play basically an on-baller on one of the wings, bring them into the stoppage and try and overwhelm the stoppage and move up the field from there, and then just play one true winger, like on the kind of fat side of the ground for a possible switch. So I think we'll see like Brayshaw, O'Meara on one of the wings and Matthew Johnson. And then, like on the other side of the, it could be Sharp, but I think O'Driscoll will probably be preferred when fit. I think they've been pushing Chapman as a potential wing as well. I think he's got a lot of potential there. So, I'm not that confident. Actually, don't know about Sharp.
I agree. In a fantasy sense, I don't think it's safe at all. Petra says Dermy's always wanted to known as an intellectual footballer. Whoops, it just dipped out. Rather than a clown. Remember his wrestling hero was Brutus Beefcake. I don't even know who Brutus Beefcake is. It sounds like a male stripper.
For sure as hell hope it's a male.
Yeah, it would be weird, wouldn't it? A real Tuesday afternoon rotation. It says 280k is absurd as an M7. Jai Clark and Matt Roberts. Yeah. Is Matt Roberts safe? Is Matt Roberts playing?
I guess the thing with Sharp is I can't remember his actual price, but he's priced pretty cheap, right? So like,
like
even if he had, so even if he only touched it like 9 or 10 times, probably still be enough.
I'm checking if Roberts is playing. That's not the first time I've heard him brought up in fantasy, but he's on. No way, he's on 59. I haven't even noticed him. It's hard when you're live streaming and chatting as well. Shit, that makes me think a little bit. I mean, job security when the others come back, maybe not, but if you get him in the first 3 or 4 weeks, he's had a pretty good start. How long before Nat 5's body breaks down? It's a fantasy question as well.
Well, hopefully a little while.
I think he sounds like in good shape. It's a little bit like Elliot Yeo at West Coast. It's like they're both on parallels, both playing more midfield this year, both had a preseason probably for the first time in years. With Fife, it seems like his injuries aren't typically soft tissue like Yeo. They seem to be like more impact, like shoulder or something like that. So I suppose that's positive, but I suppose we can't predict it either.
So I thought Fife was looking a lot leaner, which I liked. I don't know, just something about having less mass to run around with. Would be good.
I think Yeo has slimmed a little as well. I can't tell if that was just like the yellow jumper makes him look a little different, but like I thought he looked visibly smaller. Which again, same thing. A little bit less strain on the body.
I think in hindsight, looking back now, and I was an advocate for Fife going forward, but that really was the wrong decision. Like we just played with his body so much. Like he put on all this like mass. He got huge. I don't know if you remember. Like he was massive. And in hindsight, just given his like already existing injury history, I just don't think that was smart.
I agree. What came first though, the injuries or the muscle gain? Because I feel like
he's always he's always had injuries. Like 2014, 2012, for example, I think it was. He missed like almost the whole year.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. He's just always. I mean,
even
I
his
think it comes to that body type.
His sternum injury.
Well, 2015 as well I think he broke the record for like least games played to win the Brownlow.
That's crazy.
And there's been years where he's missed like the whole season, so it's kind of been a little bit of a story of his career, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Rogie says, I've got Yo in my fantasy backline. I do too, which I kind of hate, but my fantasy philosophy is going to be fuck it, we ball. I think it's a good selection on the basis that Yo is 600K and he's playing midfield. And I don't think he's ever going to be this 120 player again, but he might be you'd think he'd surpass his break even, racks up tackles, kicks the ball, as opposed to just handballs it. So I think it's a good value selection. It's hard to have a fantasy strategy around like injuries or planning for injuries, but I think it's a justifiable pick.
Yeah, I've got him as well.
What round will West Coast win their first game? So I think off the top of my head, I think we have got Port away. We've got GWS at home. Now we beat GWS in the same fixture last year, but obviously they turned a corner big time. So no. And then I think we've got the Bulldogs at Marvel. And then we've got, I feel like Sydney and Gather Round. So I think all of those we start rank underdogs. And we're probably going to start underdog in every game. But I think round 5 we might play Richmond.
In Perth, yes.
And look, I'm still, if you ask me to tip that game right now, I'd say Richmond would probably smack us. But like, you never know. And sometimes when teams have a sniff, like if a shit team has a chance, they sometimes play out of their skins. So that's probably our first winnable game.
Yeah, well, round 5 you play Richmond at home, then you play Freo. So they're probably like compared to like other teams, they're probably the ones you'd say that are winnable. And I think 2 weeks after that you play the Bombers in Perth.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Yeah.
If you make it through that like 4-week period without a win, like it'll be looking very dire.
It depends, though. I mean, this is not a prediction, but we're talking hypothetical. If we get
you're looking for your over 4, yeah, fair enough.
If we lose in 20 points, 30 points, like I think all the Eagles fans would be fairly buoyed with where we're at. Hypothetically, I think that's still a big expectation anyway. But I'm not too concerned.
Do you think there's much chance that will happen though? No disrespect. Yeah.
No. What I would probably expect is a mixed bag. So I think Port's going to be really tough for us. GWS, we could probably get within 4 goals of them at Optus, I think, on a good day. Bulldogs at Marvel, we're actually not bad at Marvel for some reason. I actually think I'm more confident of us at Marvel against the Bulldogs than if it was at Optus because we beat them last year there, but generally at Marvel, we've played some good games there last year, and they always smack at us at Optus. So again, we could get within 4 goals of them. Sydney, Sydney just annihilate us. Not just last year; they've always annihilated us. It's at Adelaide Hills, so thankfully Gather Round. It's not at the SCG or GMHBA or even Optus. So I don't know what kind of variable that is.
Speaking of, did you see John Longmire came out and said something like, it's only natural that Gather Round moved to Sydney, which I thought was kind of weird to say. Obviously, he's a head coach for a New South Wales side, right? And he's always going to represent New South Wales. But I don't. Like Adelaide's been a great place to have Gather Round. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I don't really mind. For both Gather Rounds, I'm going to be in America, so I've got I barely watched it last year.
Yeah.
And I'll probably be there in America for it this year as well, I reckon, hopefully. But yeah, that is weird. It's only normal, to have it in Sydney.
That's not verbatim, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, gotcha. So I'll just get back to the chat a little bit here. Jed Billamore says, my second season watching the sport and my first doing fantasy, I'm about to put together the most diabolical fantasy season. Nah, you'll be all right. I think a lot of people, you'll probably still do better than me, but secondly, a lot of people if they start poorly, they drop off. So you could probably still rank okay.
Yeah, I like that. Welcome to the sport. Yeah.
Yeah,
Best sport
true.
on earth.
What's your background? Are you like a rugby fan or just new to sport in general, or are you outside Australia?
And who's your team?
True. Good question. Charlie Dean debut. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if he's half a stinky shout for a fantasy bench spot. I think he scored like 60. I mean, if you're comparing it to someone like a Gibkiss or a Pink, if you've got them on your bench, there's not a lot of good young defenders this year.
Rogue Wright says, for the Freo fans, mostly Busher, Hayden Young has been one of the first picked players this entire pre-season in fantasy.
Yeah,
Makes sense with his defender status, right?
Yeah, I think he's a must pick, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you hadn't picked him, I'd probably more be asking questions.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll ever have... when's the next like Eagles player that's a must pick in fantasy? Even like over the last 15 years, I'd say Gaff is probably went through a long phase of being heavily prominent in fantasy, and that's about it. We never really had really reliable fantasy players, which is not a bad thing. Like it's not the be all and end all by any stretch. Yeah. But even like Jinby and Reed, like I don't think Reed's ever going to be a good fantasy player.
Yeah, I can't think of that many Eagles ones that were super reliable.
Maybe Hewitt.
Yo had a few really good years.
True.
I feel like some of those, like a lot of your backmen were like good for like a 80, like Brad Shepherd for a few years. I think Shannon Hearn had a pretty good year last year.
Actually, that's true. Fantasy. Yeah. That's true.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of all fluctuated over when we were like one of the best teams. But, you know, there's some players and some teams that are just like always fantasy locks, regardless. Max, 5th and 7th hardest for the first 11 rounds. I do think we have a particularly tough start to the year, actually, which is not a great start. Like, we had a few gimmies in the beginning.
I think Freo has actually a pretty tough opening month, or 4 or 5 games.
Oh, yeah?
We have Brisbane, then we have North at Marvel. But I mean, I'd rather play them later in the year when I feel like their confidence might be down. So I'd probably back them to beat us, to be honest, at Marvel.
Wow.
If I'm picking favourites. Yeah, I think it's probably.
I get your point about early season form. It's kind of like historically like playing Gold Coast early, even playing the Saints early. You guys got St Kilda in round 1 last year, and they were very good in the first couple
of round 2. And we
lost
in Perth.
Yeah.
Then we have Adelaide, then Carlton. I don't know, I just feel like, and then Port away.
That is tough, yeah.
So I feel like, we got Adelaide, Carlton, then Port, 3 in a row. That definitely 3 losable ones there.
Yeah. Tough one. I just did a video this morning about round 1 upsets, and it's kind of interesting, like looking at when teams come out and shock you in round 1. And then I also looked at how many times that was indicative of how the season would go, or was it just random? Yep. I think it was kind of a mixed bag, to be honest. There was a few that, like Sydney in 2021 beat Brisbane at the Gabba, and then both teams finished top 4. But then there was a few like Adelaide in round 1 of the same day, actually. They rolled Geelong, who just played in the grand final, but then Adelaide still finished 3rd last. Like, it's hard to know. Sometimes early season form, it's hard to pick.
Yeah, you can't read into it too much, can you?
Like North and West Coast in round 1 last year, it wasn't like, certainly not an all-star game, but it was so much better in quality than when we played them later the same year and beat them. Like, the second game was awful, the one we won. Both teams sucked, but in round 1, like, both teams were playing way better than what they would eventually become. But I think we're going to start slow. If I had to guess, I was going to say North start the year well, maybe fall away. And I think we will conversely, ignoring injuries for a second, if we can keep the list together, we might start poorly and click a little bit later. That's my guess. It's going to be hard to get our game plan going against Port Adelaide round 1. Like, first big test, playing top 3 side.
That's the thing when you're young. And I noticed this against Port last weekend. It's just those good teams are so good at stopping you from getting your game plan going.
Yeah.
And I do think that was part of what happened to Freo. It's just like, you know what I mean? They're just so on top of you and they're so well organised that you never get the opportunity to move the ball actually like how you want to move it. You're just kind of more playing reactionary.
100%. And that is a really good way of summing up my concern for our first 4 fixtures, because we're going to need – it would just be nice to have a game where like we can possibly just dominate for a quarter and see how we look. But I don't think that's going to happen in the first month. Whereas a year ago when we played North, all due respect to North, even though they outplayed us, there were periods of that game where we were well on top and you're like, oh, this looks different. So second half underway.
Wow, you're actually quite a bit behind me now. I feel like you've actually gone further behind me.
I'm 30 seconds into the quarter. Where are you?
An event just happened.
Boundary throw-in, eh?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I've skipped ahead. Looks like it was a Fritsch goal. 18:58 on the clock.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I skipped ahead again. Yeah, sweet.
So you're up to date now. Awesome.
Yeah. BJ Williams, 1 touch in the preseason game. One of the 9th best ruck duo in the comp. Fair. He's referring to I did a ranking ruck duos video.
I saw it. Yeah, you talked him up a bit.
Well, so the thing with that particular video is that more so than any other video, I did it very statistically, and you could probably poke holes through that. But if you look through stats, Bailey Williams was better than a whole heap of the guys I listed below him. And then it's not West Coast ruck duo as of last year. I did it with Flynn available too. Yeah, and that's a little bit messy. His stats are pretty good too. Like he wins clearances, like he's okay. But he only played 9 games last year and lost his spot. So, but Kieran Briggs is good. So that's where it gets messy. And, I understand that Darcy Cameron, to sort of respond to Rogie, does little things like contested marking around the ground. And to be fair, maybe like between them and Mason Cox, they do win more taps if they played against West Coast, but it doesn't go on the stat sheet. Whereas I think ruck's one of those positions where stats do indicate more so than any other. That was kind of my justification, but he was horrible in the preseason. We did actually see a lot, not to make excuses, he played poorly, but we did see a shitload of Colin Livingston and Harry Barnett in that game. And I think Williams did play a lot up forward and just didn't see it.
He did, yeah. Yeah, I noticed that with Fremantle as well. There's a lot of talk about Reedy being ready and using him to keep Jackson forward, but we rucked Tracy a hell of a lot. I noticed still with Reedy available. So I'm not entirely convinced that the club think he is ready, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair justification. Sydney hit the post from point blank range just about. Who was that? Is that? He thinks it's a goal. That clearly hit the post, no?
I thought so.
Am I behind you again? It did lag a little bit. Oh.
The behind symbol just came up.
Yeah, surely he knew he hit the post then.
I noticed Grundy's done a few good things early this half, which I like.
What's that? Sorry? Who's that?
I was just saying, I think Grundy's done a few good things I've noticed early this half. Won a few good contests.
Do you have him in your fantasy team?
I do at the moment, yes. I think it's a really, really good get for Sydney. I think they've done very well.
Yeah. Oh, you
it's
did
just
say that, actually, yeah.
It's a great, like Buddy's just left, right? He's retired. And it's just such a good, like, way to negate such a huge loss, right? Bringing someone as good as Grundy.
Mm.
And they'd have the cap, like, I'm sure they're paying
Yeah.
him a bit, but I doubt it would be what Buddy was on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Rogie says Cox and Cameron should be ranked higher than Goldstein and Draper. So, tricky one because
Yeah, I agree with that, probably.
the Goldstein is actually still a pretty good ruck. And I did, again, it's hard. The criteria is arbitrary, and that's my responsibility. I realize that. But I did weight it really strongly on the quality of the number one ruck. And I think Goldstein as a tap ruckman, I don't know, maybe there's a double standard in that. But I guess my overarching point is Goldstein still is a pretty good tap ruckman, and Draper plays well forward. And I think, again, we might not see them together for a little while. Draper's injured, I believe.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I don't know who's better. I said the Collingwood guys. I don't know. I rate Darcy Cameron. I think he's actually really good. I saw him play some very good games last year before he got injured. I feel like Jack Viney has really resurrected his career last year as well. I kind of felt like he was slowly going downhill. He had a pretty good year last year, and he's had a very good start tonight as well.
I mean, that kind of only leaves 2022 in there because 2021 he was very good, I would say.
Fair enough.
But I don't remember 2022. Maybe he did have a bad year.
I might be over dramatizing it.
Who knows?
Let's have a look. Yeah, 22, he had 26 disposals average. 23, he was 26. I don't know. I just felt like when he was younger, I just felt like he was like on track to be this like very, very like elite, like Brownlow level type.
Right, yeah.
I've always really admired him, actually. I think he's probably one of the hardest players in the league.
It was a good first step in Melbourne sort of turning over where they were to what they became. And I remember that being the narrative in Melbourne as well. Like the father-son picked 26, I think he was. And yeah, just to display that character and that hardness. I think he is still a pretty damn good player. I think he's probably just been overshadowed by Oliver and Petrarca, who are more talented players, I think. But certainly Petrarca, I think you could make a case that Viney could have Oliver. Melbourne fans have a better perspective. Oliver's certainly had a higher ranking when he's at his best, I'd say. McDonald's only young. He's a key position player. They generally take longer. I presume it's referring... Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. He's referring to his comment. Yeah, Logan McDonald's still very young.
I'm not sold yet. Especially when it comes to like potentially if Freo want him, we're going to have to give up a fair bit.
Yes. I mean, I agree in that I don't think anyone should be sold on a key forward who's 3 years into his career, with maybe a few exceptions. But I think he's tracking okay. Like, if I remember, I'm not comparing him to Josh Kennedy in quality, but I don't think Josh Kennedy had necessarily, he might not even had a 30-goal season at the same age. So, yeah, hard to know.
Speaking of, got a chance to prove me wrong here.
Oh, a little bit behind you. I think we were actually chatting. Bush's homie might come in. We were chatting about the Logan McDonald to Fremantle in the chat the other day. I'm just having a look at the stats. Yeah, I feel like it is a no-brainer for Fremantle to go hard. I think it depends what kind of year he has this year as to his price, because I think right now Fremantle's first pick is well and truly enough.
See, I disagree. I think even right now, I don't think that would get it done. Yeah.
Depends what the pick is. So if we be specific and say
5.
pick
right?
5.
That's
You don't think that'd be enough for Logan McDonald? I do.
5 or 6, I think.
If he's out of contract, I think it would be. But if he has 50-goal season, then that becomes a little bit trickier. But
I guess the other thing from my perspective is like 3 first rounders, like that's like team changing. You know what I mean? Like the last time we had 3 first rounders, we got Hayden Young and Caleb Sarong. Like, and we're potentially giving up a future one of those, right, for McDonald. And I feel like the demographic, most of our good players are 22, 23. So we can still afford to like go hard at the draft. And I think by the time we get to be a good side, when those guys are like 26 or 25, 26, the new draftees could have been in the system for like two years.
Yeah.
I guess that's my logic.
I think there's value in probably going someone who is that 22-year-old now.
There is definitely as well.
Especially if you pair him up with Amos. I think that would be so attractive to me if I was a Freo fan. But as well, don't forget as well, like Fremantle's 3 first rounders, 2 of them belong to Melbourne and Collingwood, right? So, no, Port. Sorry, Port. If they finish in the top 4 again, we're talking potentially pick 18, pick 19. So, we never really know.
I mean, what do you think trading 18 and 19 would get you? A 7?
Yeah, it's hard to know. My draft knowledge isn't on point yet, and there's still a lot to play out. So I don't think anyone can answer that fully, but you'd think close to the top 10 at least. Maybe not pick 7, but it might be one of those drafts potentially where after the top 5 it gets even. Like I know the top 5 is kind of on its own level at the moment. The rest of the tiers will still take shape, but it kind of depends. There might be clubs who think pick 18 and 19, 2 picks is better than having pick 9 if it's a really even talent pool.
Yeah, yep. I suppose it depends on who's available. If there's like a Dan Curtin type, right, like at 6 or 7, then I'd be very happy to, who from WA, be very happy to potentially have a crack.
Yeah. I mean, say West Coast have pick 2, and Fremantle have pick 5. Hypothetically, I would probably do 2 for 5 and 18 pretty quickly. I don't know if you would do that as a Freo fan.
It just depends, who's on the radar, I think.
Yeah. But my understanding is the top 5 is fairly evenly rated. There's 5 really good mids, although one of them is father-son to Brisbane in Levi Ashcroft. So, yeah, we'll see.
Well, I guess if you're telling me that the top 5 are fairly evenly rated, then I wouldn't swap 5 and another first rounder for 2.
Do the deal now. Yeah, I think this is just my personal impression. I think there probably is a top 2 in that top 5, but it is still very tight. And I think it's probably, as Sydney get a goal through McLean, 10 points the margin. I think it's probably Finno Sullivan and maybe Jagger Smith are probably the 2 slightly ahead of Levi Ashcroft, Sid Draper, and Josh Smillie. Josh Smillie, right? He's 194 centimeters and he's a midfielder and he's 17. So you extrapolate that. Wow. What's he going to be come draft night? He's going to be like 200 centimeters.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know if that works against him. I don't particularly want us to pick a 200 centimeter midfielder, to be honest.
No, but then I guess you do see sometimes they say it works to players' advantages because they get to develop those skills as a smaller player. And then all of a sudden get the body of someone big. But you could easily see seeing it backfire as well.
Yeah.
In them becoming uncoordinated or something.
Patrick Cripps was an example of that where he was short, right? And then had a massive growth spurt and plays just fine as a midfielder, obviously. I remember when I was 13, I was actually quite decent at soccer. And I had a growth spurt and I went from 5'7" to about 6 foot in about a summer. I reckon. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And I just got so bad at soccer. Like, I didn't play soccer for those 6 months, and I came back and I played in the Middle East, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so much further away from the ground. And this
Yeah.
sport is way harder than it was a year ago or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
So sometimes it goes the other way. But then again, I wasn't necessarily a top-level athlete, that's for sure.
See, Jed Billamore, we asked him where he's from. He said he's from the UK.
Oh,
He's
sick.
from Victoria. Loves the sport. He supports the Tigers. So Jed does now as well. First-time member this season.
Cool.
Just hoping we're fun to watch. Yep, that's fair enough.
We've swapped places, Jed. I am in Macclesfield near Manchester as we film this.
What else we got? Zach Williams named apparently to start.
Yep, got
Blake
him.
Cowes looked good this game. When Flynn and Matt Flynn return, we will hopefully get back on course. Yep. Rogue Riot agrees with me. Cox and Cameron higher than Goldstein and Draper.
I think he was the first one to bring that up. I think that was who I was responding to. Does this draft have any good key defenders or forwards? I actually don't know yet. I'm sure the answer is yes, but last year was particularly big for talls.
It always seems like they know where the mids are going to sit before the key players, right? Like when it comes to underages.
True.
Because I think when they're 17, you start to see guys like Logan McDonald get a run like in kind of seniors for the first time in their life, and
I think the growth spurt that happens for key positional players generally is bigger. Like if you're taller, your growth spurt's generally larger, and I've heard a recruiter talk about that, how the talls bolt quite a lot.
Yeah,
and then there's testing as well. Rogie has gifted a membership. Legend. Thank you so much.
Very nice. What a legend.
I'm trying to see who he gifted it to. I'm using new software and I can't tell.
Max Henson or Hanson.
Oh, there you go. Nice, Maxie. Welcome back.
Well, that's very generous.
I think this is the second one that Max has been gifted from Rogie. Rogie, thank you so much. I think this bloke's paying half me grocery list at the moment. No, I appreciate you, Rogie. What a legend.
And we have just decided to up the membership price from $5 a month.
G'day, George. Shout out Rogie, what a legend.
What a legend.
So Fritsch goals again. I think that's his second for the term, second in a row for Melbourne. And we are down to 4 points. This game is, it was never not on, but extra on, as they say.
I've got a feeling Melbourne might do them.
Yeah?
I tipped Melbourne.
You tipped Melbourne? I did as well. Amati misses. Oh, there you go, Max.
Yeah.
Is it random?
I
think Rogie said it's a random one, like a random assignment. Oh, Fritsch has 3. There you go. Windsor.
Max was just coming into the chat to tell us how bad it was, and he's been randomly assigned a membership.
Nah, this is a good stream. I feel like I can do more of these without it being draining. Like I said, I do enjoy them, but you guys have no idea how exhausting it is. Like when you turn off the stream after 3 hours of just talking by yourself, it is so draining. I need a nap. Okay. So when he said Fritsch has 3, it just happened. So maybe that was his third right there. I'm obviously behind again.
Fritsch he's a gun.
I love him.
He's so good.
I remember. I remember the first time I heard his name was prior to that draft, I read an article saying the Eagles were deciding between Fritsch and Liam Ryan for that pick. And I was like, oh, you better choose Liam Ryan. And don't get me wrong, Liam Ryan, I still think
I was going to say
it's a great pick, all-Australian player, but Bailey Fritsch has turned out to be an absolute star.
The thing I like about Fritsch is like I love guys that play like taller than they actually are, if that makes sense. Like he plays like a key position forward, but he's like not really the height or the stature of a key position forward.
Yeah, he's like 6'2", I think.
Oh my God, that was massive hit. Bowie on McCartan.
Oh, shoulder?
That would have hurt.
Or maybe like a head. Oh, I hope he didn't break his arm. Shit.
Jeez. That would have hurt.
Yeah. He's kind of holding it as though it's broken. Maybe he just got a head to like the delt or the bicep. That would hurt in itself. Hopefully that's all it is. Dead arm.
Good play. Both players going hard at the football there.
Who was the Sydney player?
Oh, he's holding his collarbone, I think. It was Tom McCartan.
Tom McCartan.
Well, I think he's a fair bit bigger than Bowie, to be fair.
Yeah, he's a shitload bigger. The stream just died, or my KO died right as that happened, so I missed the aftermath. That's bad. You've done a horrific collarbone.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No,
he looks a lot braver than I did when I did mine. That's for sure.
No, yours was really bad, to be fair.
Yeah, it was.
Do you ever still get pain?
I was just literally walking around the sidelines like, can someone take me to hospital? Like, I don't think I'm okay here. You know how every like country footy club, there's like the old fella who's like, strap his bloody shoulder and get him back out of the field. And I was like, I am literally like not going back on that field. I refuse.
We need a forward pocket.
That's right. You can do a job on Taylor in the half-forward flank.
Man, that was kind of trippy, because I was playing in Nungaran, because you did that for Wesley, didn't you? I was playing in Nungaran, and we just sort of like got back into reception. We saw a Facebook post saying, like, can anyone tell us if it was on the Wesley Curtin chat? And it was like, can anyone tell us how is Will Joyce okay? And then like me and Das were all just like, what the
fuck? My God, he's dead.
Yeah, we were worried. So, yeah, I wasn't there, but that was trippy. Another anecdote from playing country footy was another game I played in Nungaran was we had this, like, 85-year-old water boy, and he just did fucking nothing. And we played 25-minute quarters. Like, they were longer.
Did you say 85-year-old water boy that did nothing, as in, like, he never brought the water out?
Yeah.
Or as in...
As opposed to what? Would you...
I don't know. I wasn't sure if you were saying that he would, like, don the boots on or something occasionally and do nothing but, like, a lazy water boy. Wow.
He had about 7 touches. Nah. He literally just never ran out of water. And, like, in Nungaran, there were, like, long quarters. For whatever reason, we played, like, 25-minute quarters. So the scores were over 200 all the time. They were massive games. And I remember once getting so dehydrated, I was running off the field and both of my calves seized and my foot, you imagine your foot like an L, right? Like your foot's out like that, like that. Both of my ankles went like that and I couldn't move them back. They just went, wow. I couldn't. I was just on the ground screaming because it was like, not screaming. But it was freaky, man. Like, I didn't know what the fuck. Yeah. I'd never cramped like that in my life. And I was in so much pain. There was nothing. Because if you cramp your calf, like it hurts, but you can stretch it out. When your feet go like that, you just lose your feet and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So some bloke came and sat on my feet to push them back into position. And I was like, is this okay? Like,
was it the water boy?
Different player. There's another player. I was like, are my calves actually just going to snap? Like, what the fuck is going to happen? Thankfully, it was okay, but that was terrible. Robot arm. Ooh, that would have been a big goal for the Swans. It is 6 points up. Max Hansen comes in with the news that Sydney have subbed Amati off for Sam Wicks. Oh my God.
Jar saying, I remember my best mate tore his Achilles ACL hamstring getting caught in a tackle. Wow. He couldn't stand up and was screaming in pain. But he's like, don't take me out. Just give me the jab. Oh, wow. You know, he's really he's really fucked up your tight calf story there, hasn't he?
I was screaming.
You were screaming on the ground with your calf cramp, and Darth Jar Jar's mates asking to stay on the field with 2 broken legs and a missing eye.
Missing eye, yeah. Yeah, well, I also had genital warts, so I wasn't screaming. I wasn't, but I will say
I
that
know what you mean. Yeah,
I panicked a little bit because I didn't know. I'd never seen that before.
cramping can be really painful.
Yeah, it can.
It can
And
be.
like, if you can't stretch it out, yeah, the pain just intensifies. But yeah, that is a horrific story, Darth, and definitely beats mine.
Yeah, and mine.
Yeah, yours is horrific, and that is even more horrific, I would say. Achilles, ACL, and hamstring. Fuck, man, that's like a car crash. That's worse.
Do you
That's a bad
remember?
car crash.
Do you remember when I like tore all the muscles like in my ankle, like when we were
Oh
playing?
yeah.
Yeah, that. So that there was no break, like there was no fracture. It was just
Ligament.
I tore all of the ligaments in my ankle.
Oh,
That was so much more painful than smashing my collarbone to pieces.
yeah, wow.
Yeah, and it kind of gave me a whole new respect for like these muscle injuries. Like you don't even from the outside, just looking at these professional sportsmen, you're not even sure if they would hurt, right? These like muscle injuries, but
True.
I was in bed for like days. Like I ended up getting a tramadol like subscription.
Yeah, I remember. And it made
Yeah,
you quite ill, right?
yeah, that's right. It made me really sick. Like it's morphine tramadol, I think.
Yeah.
And oh man, that was really, really hurt.
Mm. I remember that. Yeah. It was quite innocuous, right? Not innocuous, but like, so from my
Just a
perspective,
rolled ankle, basically, like a
we were
really
playing,
bad rolled ankle.
yeah, 5-a-side outdoor, but you went after the ball as the ball went out of bounds, and I was on the other side of the pitch, probably screaming for a pass. And
He's gone down again.
You just sort of went down.
Yeah.
And then you were like yelling. But when I walked over, there was like, you look at the turf, there was so many divots in there. So I presume your foot.
I was going to say, like I stepped in this huge pothole.
Yeah.
But do you remember how much my ankle like?
Yes. I got a photo. It's in my Snap memories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. So Varney's lining up for me to make this all square, I reckon.
Yeah.
His jumper is so
huge. This would be huge. Oh, what a beast. He's played a great game here.
He's an enviable mullet. That's a great goal.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. I got to say.
Yeah.
I think he's like the Crimson Chin, do you know, from Fairly Odd Parents? Like
people said that about me back in the day, but not in a nice way. Yeah, he has quite prominent and almost severe features, but yeah,
almost severe. I like that.
They are quite severe, like if you know what I mean, but generally handsome. Subscribe. 4 minutes to go in the third.
He says, I was playing footy as a 15-year-old, went back with the flight, hit the post, broke my collarbone, and risked the green, whistle slapped. Yeah. It's amazing how many people I've seen like run into the goalpost. It's actually, I've seen it quite often.
Yeah.
IAM says cricket is getting second-tier athletes. Everyone here want to be AFL stars. That's the reason we're not dominating. After all, AFL was for cricket's fitness.
So is he saying that cricket, the reason the cricket team's not that good is because we've lost talent? Yeah.
Yeah. Funny story. I actually heard Dennis Cometti apparently used to say the Olympics was for like people who couldn't make the football team, basically. Because Bruce McAvaney loved the Olympics.
Yeah,
he was like, really big on it.
Yes,
Dennis, was basically for all the good athletes played footy, and then anyone that couldn't make the footy side did something else.
Yeah. I feel like just getting back to the cricket question, there's been a few footballers lost from cricket. I think Cornelio and Jordan Clark were both like represented Australia or got close. Certainly Jordan Clark did.
Yeah.
There's a couple that have gone the other way. Alex Carey played for GWS. That's crazy. That is actually crazy.
Yeah,
and
it is.
then Will Sutherland, James Sutherland's son. He was like first round draft prospect. Mitch Marsh was another one. He probably could have gotten drafted. We'll never fully know, but he was a pretty good footballer.
Well, I might have to hold you off on the Mitch Marsh one because I've heard him speak about that.
Okay.
And he said, I think he said he played like 2 games and he had kicked a few goals in one game. But I think, he's probably just being very humble.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that this is my entire basis for it. Like the big footy draft threads, I'm pretty sure I saw his name featured there. Now that's just amateurs, so it could mean anything. But Mitch Marsh was definitely being talked about in there, whatever that means.
He's a big fella, right? Like he could play like probably centre half forward or something.
Yeah. Whereas Will Sutherland, I'm pretty sure was literally like at the start of that year was like 12th in a random guy of big footy rankings, which is. And you know, I think even on AFL.com.au he might have copped a mention. I could be wrong, but yeah,
that's a big goal, Hayward.
Yeah, true. This game is decent, not free flowing, scrappy, but
Tracker. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! That's elite. That's what he does.
Oof. Judd-like.
I feel like Melbourne have just flexed their muscles a little bit this quarter. They've had some very good plays.
Yeah. Melbourne.
That's like what Petrarca, like that, those centre. How many goals does he kick like that, right? Like running out of the centre bounce, like.
Yeah. I think
just elite.
I think he's smart. I did my top 20 players in the comp. I think I had him third.
Yeah.
And I had Toby Green nudge up between him and Bont on the basis.
Yeah, I like that.
Because
I'd have Toby Green in the top couple for sure.
Yeah.
Bont one. I agree with that.
Yeah. It fluctuates a little bit with form because I would say that the best version of Petrarca I would still have over Green. But
I'm not sure about Petrarca 3. I don't dislike it. I'm just thinking. I'll get back to you on that.
I had them.
Do you think Petrarca's better than Oliver?
Yeah, personally.
You do?
Yeah. But it was also you consider in the ranking that Oliver, tore a hamstring last year or something like that, or at least badly sprained it. You missed 2 months. Sometimes, you got to consider the recency bias a little bit. But generally speaking, both in top form, I think I prefer what Petrarca brings. Yeah. A little bit.
Petrarca's just so he's so dynamic, isn't he? He's so powerful.
Yeah.
We haven't seen too many dynamic midfielders like Petrarca, whereas Oliver's a little bit more vanilla in the way he plays. Yeah. He's still very good. Don't get me wrong. But we've seen a lot of Oliver types.
Oh, great rundown tackle has just happened on my screen.
Here he is again.
Oh,
I feel like Petrarca would make a very good full forward, right? Just playing out of the goal square.
We could see a late career Petrarca do the Dusty move, I think, and play as a power forward.
Love that from Blakey.
Oof.
Yes.
Blakey. What a two-handed bounce. That was clever tap on.
Played that well. I mean, Blakey, he does that. Speaking of good, power runners.
Yes.
There's not many better than Blakey.
Yeah. For game-breaking runs, yeah.
Yeah.
Blakely in space, you're generally stuffed. You see that as an opposition fan. You're like, oh, God. The Swans just keeping him at arm's length on the scoreboard. They've now got more scoring shots. And every time, oh, my God, he's bellied that. Harry Demeter played cricket. That's true. I'm not sure how high level? I'm generally not sure. Will Parker...
Slightly disappointing games from Warner and Goulden here. Goulden's had 12 disposals.
Yeah.
Warner, 15 so far.
You did call the Goulden thing. I wonder if he's getting some attention.
I mean, first game back. I think he's an elite player. I was probably a little bit harsh on him. I think I definitely wasn't saying he's not a good player. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I knew what you meant. You justified it by saying he would maybe struggle without three of their other midfielders in. I think that's fair. So for fantasy, Blake Howes, 200k. He's on 63 in this game. Did you see that the captains voted for the Rising Star? And Harley Reid got 6 votes.
Sanders
got I've forgotten who came second.
Hey? Sanders got some.
Sanders got 3, I think. I think it might be 5 McKercher. But Blake Howes got a vote, and I presume that was from Gawn. But even still, like with Windsor there, it's interesting he went Howes. Like a lot of...
There's I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Reid and Sanders are much more likely than McKercher.
Hard to know.
I think they're a lot more ready-made kind of thing.
Agreed, but I think McKercher, if he can get support, which is a big question mark, in a backline that already has Fisher and Sheasel, like it could work against him as much as it could help him. But I think he wins so much more of the footy. I reckon he will average a lot more possessions than Reid, and he is so quick and ball use outstanding that I think he could stand out earlier. I don't think Reid will win it, but I think it's Sanders first.
Fair enough. You do hear great things about Sanders.
If Reid plays just about every game like he did against Adelaide, then he's a red hot chance because he was actually good once I watched back some tape. He did some things I didn't notice at the time. He
Harley in, I think.
Was that?
I'll back Harley in.
Yeah. He said Oliver. I presume that means Oliver over Petrarca. And then he also says anyone that watched McKercher will know how good he is. Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, I don't think anyone here was suggesting he wasn't good. But yeah, he was my favorite player in the draft. Like the thing about trading pick 1 was like I wanted to make sure we had pick 2 to get McKercher. And it turns out I think the Eagles rated Curtin higher anyway, which I disagree with. But
well, yeah, I think both the WA clubs tried hard to get Curtin by the sound of it.
There were 5 clubs that tried to trade live.
Yeah.
Hawthorn was one of them, actually. After they took Watson, they tried to trade again to get the next pick or whatever.
Well, imagine if they had come away with Watson and Curtin. That would have been...
Yeah, and they would have gotten McCabe in the draft anyway. Their father-son. The Eagles also tried to trade for Tholstrup, which surprised me. And Caddy. Like, we tried 3 times. We tried to get Curtin, then we went for Caddy, and then we went for Tholstrup, according to Cal Toomey, which is fairly reliable.
I heard Curtin's so good they tried to take his dad and the father-son.
John Curtin? Wonder if he's any relation.
I don't know. That's going back a fair few years. World War II, I think.
Do you know Twiggy Forrest is related to John Forrest? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well,
entrepreneurs.
His surname is Forrest, but yeah. Max is saying that I remember seeing an article on Demeter saying he's running drinks at the gym on Boxing Day. He got sprayed by Dean Elgar. Really? I did not hear that. It's funny because Demeter would be like a kid when they're 17 or 18.
You do see that quite often in the Premier League. I think like the ball boys are often, I think, part of like the academies. Yeah, like I think maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think.
Oh, yeah. Ball boy.
A few others, yeah.
You keeping up with Liverpool?
No. Oh, yeah, like the scores. I don't really watch the game, so I'd be much more inclined to watch Tottenham, to be honest. I
Really?
watched quite a few Spurs games.
Wow.
Yeah, like I
And
follow Big Ange a lot. Yeah, pretty very proud of what Big Ange has been able to do over there. I think he's making waves for sure.
yeah, fair play. It's a really good trio of teams going for the title, eh?
It is,
Like,
yeah,
you
it
think
is.
Man City's gonna do it, but like, obviously, I have faith in Liverpool. But
Yeah,
Arsenal are pretty damn good as well. Like, they beat
yeah.
Arsenal, they just won 6-0. What was it? They scored like 18 goals in the last 3 away games or something
I was
stupid.
going to say, like, I'd almost written Arsenal off. I think a lot of people had because obviously
Mm,
last year they fell away big time,
yeah,
but they kind of like have hit form at just the right time this
yeah,
year.
yeah. That's true.
I think
They could easily win
I
it.
don't know. Yeah,
Their goal
I got
difference
a
is good now.
feeling. I got a feeling Liverpool are going to win it though.
Yeah. You know, as soon as
Yeah,
Klopp said he was stepping down, I thought the same thing. I was like,
yeah,
"Ah, now the stage is set. I can see this happening. But the problem is, it's not that I don't think we can do it, or play well enough to win it. It's just that Arsenal and Man City is so damn good that you can't really afford to drop points at any point. It's
yeah.
going to be so good, so tight. Wooden Spoon Data, welcome, mate. Says, is it just me or does Melbourne's movement look shocking? Yeah, it's not. It's not really end-to-end footy from either side in this game. Could be conditions, although we do know that Melbourne sometimes with their ball movement could go a lot better than they do.
I thought
The-
Melbourne stepped it up that quarter quite a bit personally from the
yeah,
first half.
yep. They won that quarter by 5 points, but I agree they did look a little bit better. It just felt like Sydney probably just kept replying with goals without necessarily matching them for the whole quarter. I'm
Yeah,
half watching, but like, yeah. I don't know how blokes watch soccer, man, says he. I mean, to be fair, I don't actually watch a lot of it. I'm really invested in my team in Liverpool. I follow the scores, but in terms of watching the sport, I don't actually do a lot of that. So I kind of have to agree. But the league and the clubs, like I enjoy that.
I think as soon as you like invest in a team, get to know the players, it becomes a lot. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it a lot more as soon as I got behind the team.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever find me sitting there watching like West Brom versus Sunderland. Um,
It's
yeah,
true.
but I enjoy it to be honest, and the big games like the um, like what are they called? El Clasicos. Always enjoy them. If there's like a Manchester derby, Liverpool versus United,
Yeah.
especially like when it gets to the crunch time of the year, when it's like they're playing for titles. That's pretty like entertaining. I think pretty high pressure stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just got a question from Max. Is it morally ethical for me to join the members tipping comp when it was gifted? I think it's okay, but maybe Rogie decides. At the end of the day, he's gifted a membership, and that is one of the perks of membership. But I think it's okay.
I need to join the members tipping.
Yes, so you can find it in the community tab. Like there's a members only post. Otherwise, I can probably flick you the link at some point. Is the difference between the best teams and the wooden spoons in soccer big skill wise? Yeah, definitely. Like Man City is the
Probably
best
bigger than
team.
AFL. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Man City is the best team in. Liverpool and Arsenal are right up there this year and have been pretty close for the last few years. But you'd say Man City the best, and then I think there's a reasonable gulf even between the top 5 or 6 to the rest.
I
I
feel
mean,
like
you
in
do
AFL,
usually.
it's not like unreasonable at all to see like the 15th place team beat the third team.
That's true.
But that will, yeah, still be pretty rare. Like if you
Mm,
look at the percentage of games the top teams win in the Premier League, they lose like, yeah, 4 games for the whole
that's
season,
true,
maybe
and
sometimes less,
the
and they
season's
play double the
probably
amount of
quite
games.
long. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
but that kind of adds to it. Like that's what makes it so cutthroat.
Mm,
Um, and that's why you can kind of get around it like any game because you know how important like just one game is.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Zidane got sacked from Real Madrid for a 3-loss season. If I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah,
I think they
I'm
didn't
not
win any
sure.
trophies, to be fair.
Yeah.
But the way it panned out, they still only lost 3 games and he lost his job. Or Ranieri, like that was the worst one. Leicester City wins the title. And I think they're 10th mid-season the next year and he got sacked. I could be fudging the details there, but I think that's about right.
Yeah. Or who was the Chelsea guy? The interim manager, was it De Zerbi? I want to say.
Not sure.
He won the Champions League, I think, and got fired, or they replaced him.
Right.
Someone in the chat. No, Di Matteo. Sorry, not De Zerbi. De Zerbi's the Brighton manager. Di Matteo.
Oh, yeah. Right. Jeez.
I think Gus Hiddink as well. Maybe won the Prem with Chelsea and got sacked.
Did he? Wow.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on it. People will know.
Yeah. Gus Hiddink would have been before our time. Like that would have been pre-Socceroos 06, right? Gus Hiddink at Chelsea? Or was that after?
No, I think it was after.
Who did he coach?
It would have been like late 2000s, maybe, or something.
Okay. Yeah, a bit before my time in actively following it, to be honest. Goulden kicks a point. You feel like this game could be an absolute nail-biter in the dying minutes, eh? It's trending that way. Three behind separated. I'm just going to run through some stats. Close my football app or Premier League app. We've got Viney BOG by some distance, I'd say. 25 touches, 2 goals. Heaney, 22 touches and a goal. Could he be a fantasy option if he's playing more midfield time? But again, ask us again.
How long is it going to last?
Yeah, exactly. When the injuries come back, it might, or injured players come back. Probably not worth it. Salem's on 74. How many? 3 clearances. Papley marks hard up against the boundary line. Who else have you tipped this round, Joyce? You got Brisbane over Carlton, I presume?
Yep. Brisbane over Carlton, Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And Collingwood.
I tipped Collingwood as well.
It wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if GWS beat them.
Yeah, that's the other tough one. I found this one tough.
Yeah.
I actually found 3 of them tough. The only one I was really confident about was Brisbane beating Carlton. And Gold Coast and Richmond is hard because I don't know what Richmond will turn out. Or which Gold Coast.
Oh, wow. That's a great goal. That's huge. Is it just me, or is Warner? I think Warner's going to need the advanced hair treatment.
Oh, yeah, seriously. That is a great goal. What are your thoughts on this? Druzy, we were chatting about Chad Warner, and he says Warner is an absolute 10 out of 10 looking bloke.
I wouldn't have said that. I don't think he's not bad, but like.
And I was just like, Drews, I don't know about that one. I think that's you might be the only one that thinks that. And he's like, nah, man. Whenever I look at him, I'm just like, that is an amazing looking human. And I was just like, I don't want to sound horrible, but that one's.
That haircut is shocking, I've got to say. He's done like Luke Shuey from like.
He does have a Shuey haircut, hey?
Yeah. Now
I'm suddenly attracted to him.
Like the weird like mohawk skinhead thing.
Yeah. You know, one player that I think will look back on time and regret the haircut he had at 18 is Clay Hall.
Yeah, he's got like the 90s like Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I don't know why that's a thing with this generation.
Same as like Jai Amos.
Yes. Even Neil
He's got. Yeah, they've got like that haircut, but a mullet at that.
Yeah, dude. I realize that I'm just fulfilling the prophecy of a guy who gets older and
just
looks
old.
at the next generation.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
I really think like everything from the 90s in terms of fashion, for the most part, can more or less stay there. And I think that haircut, like 90s and 2000s, not good. Early 2000s fashion.
Yeah.
Like, do you reckon like people start spiking their hair and bleaching it blonde again? Like,
I was going to say, when you see the kids rolling around with the jean shorts, like knee-length jeans shorts and like a long mullet, like with
Dude,
the curtains, it's like, oh,
it feels like when we
you
were
probably
kids.
haven't seen it as much in the UK, but it's big over here.
I've seen it on like Instagram because a lot of people I follow are still obviously in Australia. That jean shorts trend is awful. It's almost just like provocatively bad that it's a fashion statement. But I
Doesn't
suppose a
Bailey
lot
Smith?
of trends do
Bailey
start that
Smith.
way.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm
But
being
Bailey
ignorant.
Smith loves the full-length shorts.
Yes. I don't think it looks good at all.
The full-length shorts with the short sleeve button up.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's very like early 2000s dad barbecue, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe every generation, is that another goal? It is. Maybe every generation says this, but I feel like the trends now are just a regression. Like, it's not cool.
There were some pretty bad trends when we were in high school, man. There's no
Yeah,
emos anymore.
true. I feel like when we were at uni, there was a bit of a fascination with the 70s, a little bit, like long hair and hippie style. I feel like we saw that a little bit more. And I feel like the kids below now, the like 10 years younger than us, 15 years younger than us, it's now the 90s that is the cool era. You could say maybe the 80s got a revival because when people brought back mullets, that's probably an 80s thing. But now we're into the 90s. So I wonder if in 10 years we'll be talking about kids dressing like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, like late 90s, early 2000s, unless we're already there. It probably is more late 90s, actually, what we're seeing now. So maybe 2008 makes a revival in 10 years.
Warner was elite there.
Yeah.
Sydney have really stepped up the pressure here.
They've got one hand on this game for sure. Potentially proven a few people wrong, including myself. I backed Melbourne tonight. Probably a top three player. Top three player for every position, every opposition supporter hates but would love on the team. That's a good question.
Toby Green, maybe.
Yeah. Toby is a flog. Like, I do like him. I still find myself liking him in a way, but there's,
maybe DeGoey.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, DeGoey's a good one. Even Buddy, actually, I know he's not around anymore, but I didn't really like Buddy Franklin that much. Found him super annoying, but obviously we'd take him in a heartbeat.
Stringer as well.
Who's that?
Jake Stringer.
Yeah, I never disliked Stringer, but I see it. It's always the forwards, isn't it?
I never really liked him after reading about his antics at the Dogs.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. That's kind of forgotten now by me, but
yeah,
I forgot about that. Alex Rance, I really did not like Rance. Jack Riewoldt, I kind of liked and hated.
Do you remember Rance? Like, I think you and me watched it one day. Like, he goes down the marking contest and he just smacks some dude on the back of the head. Like,
that's exactly
really like maliciously. And like,
yes. I'm pretty sure it was Jack Watts.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's exactly what pops into my head whenever I think of Alex Rance.
That's a huge goal. It's going to be just about game over, you'd think, with that. It's going to be very hard.
So much for this game going down to the wire. It would take a big comeback, but Melbourne is capable of these things. But yeah, it's looking like Sydney, definitely.
This is a very good win for Sydney, I think. Like,
agreed.
Melbourne round one, some very good test. And Sydney probably have been the better side. I mean, 22 scoring shots to what, 15? That's quite an advantage.
Yeah, it felt like because the game obviously flows, teams get on top. It felt like when Melbourne was on top, Sydney was still scoring, which is ultimately probably going to be the difference.
Yeah. How do they do it just year after year? Hey, they just keep backing it up. Like, it's unbelievable.
Longmire is an amazing coach when you consider like
Yeah.
how many game plans he's cycled through as well. Like this Sydney brand is so different to the 2012 premiership winning team, and even the ones that made the grand final in like 16. He's gone through a rebuild. It lasted 3 years. Sure, they got some academy picks. They did definitely get some academy picks, but the way he reinvented the game style, like it's a very different Sydney now, and therefore he should be respected as a pretty damn good coach.
And probably like it's probably overstated like how much they rely on bringing in big talent. Like everyone always goes to that because it's the easy argument, but they've developed like so many good players from not having like great draft positions as well. Even just like Goulden, Warner, all these guys, right? It's like
I mean the come back to that is that some of those are academies. So Goulden Academy, Heaney, Mills, and they have turned out to be good players. Blakey's another one. But that being said, Sydney have always been good, like even since pre-academy, at developing the players that they've got. And they were famous, like in their premiership winning era, of turning spuds from other teams into gun role players. Like they had a real knack for it. Like Mitch Morton, another forgotten West Coast Eagle.
Mitch Morton, Nick Davis.
Spanger was another one.
Yeah,
that's even, true. Nick Davis. He was at Collingwood, wasn't he?
Hickey.
Yeah. Mind you, Hickey was okay with us, but you're right. He probably did play his best season at Sydney. But Hickey had some memorable games with us as well. That's another goal, obviously. Late reaction by me, but yes.
Yeah.
Who else? There's more than that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we're going back a complete 2 eras there. As a Melbourne supporter, good night, everyone. Yeah, rough. Getting back to the Sydney test, like with the injuries that they have, this win legitimizes them to some extent, I think. And obviously, we don't really know what Melbourne's going to be like this year from a small sample size, but they are still a pretty formidable opponent that I tipped in this game. And Sydney have passed this test with flying colours. I did have him in my grand final.
Oh, you had Sydney in your grand.
Yeah, I had Sydney GWS grand final.
Wow. Oh, that's right. Wow. That is huge, I reckon.
Yeah, imagine that happened. Melbourne, the city, would hate it. But it's been 18 years since the last non-Victorian.
Was that a goal? Was that? Did you see that?
No, it hasn't come up yet for Traka.
Oh my God, that's one of the weirdest goals.
I haven't seen a replay yet, but that's a goal, I reckon.
Oh, shin. It's very upper shin.
I think below the knee is the rule. Oh, yeah, very. It's still a goal, I think. That clearly hits him below the knee.
He hasn't done much tonight, has he, Van Rooyen?
No, I don't think he's had too many chances, honestly.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. That was play of the day for him.
Wow, yeah, goal. Late comeback, maybe?
If there's a team that can do it, I do think it's Melbourne, but they haven't really demonstrated they can score quickly in general for a while now. But it's certainly
if there's a team that can do it, it's definitely Collingwood, not Melbourne.
Score quickly like that?
Huh?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're joking. But I think Melbourne, maybe I'm kind of going back a little bit to 2021 too much there when they kick like 7 goals in 7 minutes. But they do have match winners in their team. Sure.
Phineas Nigellus Black looks really good this year, I reckon. He's really come on under Longmire.
Really wound back the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see his wife plays in the AFLW, Doris Crockford.
I thought she was a goal umpire.
you play Hogwarts Legacy? How'd you find it? Honest review here on True Footy.
I liked it. I thought it was good, but it got quite repetitive. Like, in the end, it was just like go from hideout to hideout and kill the same people.
Yeah. Mm.
But it was a good game, yeah.
Good
I
story?
think it was pretty good. Decent enough.
Yeah. I did watch, because that came out right as I sold my console and was moving over here. But I watched a heap on YouTube and I was like, fuck, this looks cool. But maybe that's all I need. Maybe I just need to watch the story on YouTube. And
it was good, to be fair. Like, yeah.
Considering the it's not like there's a lot of Harry Potter stuff out there that's good.
Exactly.
Like Fantastic Beasts is all we got. There's so much potential. I hope they milk it for all it's worth too. I hope they milk
the TV show.
Yeah.
Well, the TV show is going to be coming, I think, 26.
Yeah.
They announced.
There's Cursed Child, I guess, as well. Did you watch it?
No.
Or read it? I heard
Isn't
the play
it a script.
The story's a bit weird though. It's actually kind of bizarre that it is J.K. Rowling who has done Cursed Child, I think, right? She did Cursed Child. And she did Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
And those were train wrecks, or at least Fantastic Beasts is.
I guess that's the difference, though, between having literally like 10 years to like formulate a story, like come up with it, as opposed to like you've got 6 months to come up with a script for a sequel to, you know what I mean, to this movie. Like,
yes.
And also she probably doesn't quite have like the drive, right, to like.
Yes.
Like
I think there's some cool ideas in there. There's some cool elements. It feels like it was going in a cool place, but it might even just be the fact that it's an author helping write a screenplay.
And I think the way it's that as well.
Yeah,
it's not. They're not books, right? It's like just
If there had been,
like I think it was written as a script, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah. So if it had been a legitimate book, it might have been a lot more well fleshed out. Darth Jar Jar says, Fantastic Beasts is better than Cursed Child. Is that because you like Fantastic Beasts or Cursed Child is way worse? We need to clarify that.
I do feel like there's, a lot of potential, though, for the universe. Like it's...
Yeah. I was thinking you could do, I'm keen for this 10-year series that they're going to do. Oh, Windsor wrapped up. That's probably the nail in the coffin, I reckon. But I would like a Marauders series. You can do that. They can totally do that.
That'd be cool. A Marauders series. I've always thought it'd be cool to just have like a prequel series, like
100%.
When Voldemort kind of rose to power, like the first time, right? Like in the 80s, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. And like do that, and then it like could kind of finish with like him going to Lily and James's house or something.
100%.
Like I would love that.
100%. All for that.
Because so much of the books and the story is actually built around the events that happened like then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like with the long bottoms and Barty Clutch Jr.
100%. Yeah, and there's good enough characters in there to make it its own show. Like Sirius and we know fuck all really about James Potter. Young Werewolf. And Peter Pettigrew, that whole betrayal, it would be so cool to do that. G. Wilkes is trying to win the track and the game ends in a draw. That's a huge call.
Wow, that would be huge. Goodwin will be sacked before Bevo, says Carpe or Carpe.
Goodwin will be sacked. Big call. I think neither of them get sacked.
Bush and I, we called it.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah.
The potential for it, I think. There's potential for pressure there, I reckon.
I mean, the thing is, they did finish fourth. So
I just think if they don't go well, the external narrative is going to be strong.
Yeah.
Seth Rev says, "Are you a fan of mid-season trading in the AFL?" I think I would be. Yes, I think it just adds another kind of element that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine it'd be crazy to be a list manager, right? Imagine if we knew right now that there was a trade window in like 10 weeks, we'd be talking about like targets and who's going to go where like now, right?
Yeah.
Kind of gives teams the ability to replace injuries. The only thing that worries me about it is it's like, will the strong sides just get stronger from it? Will someone be like, why am I going to stay and play at North and get flogged for like the next 10 games when Collingwood will like, you know what I mean? But I suppose you could say that about any trade period, right?
Yeah. So I don't mind it. Like from a content point of view, like a mid-season trade period would go off for me. Like trade period is where all the views come. So I like that. But I do kind of like this idea that you build your list prior to the season. And if you have deficiencies in depth and you have injuries that can't support that, it's kind of on you. I kind of like that idea. And like, as you say, like Collingwood trading in LDU, hypothetically. Not that would happen because Collingwood would probably have pick 18 or whatever. I think that would be a little bit stiff. One thing I also think is I don't think we would see huge moves because in the middle of the season, like if we're talking big moves to big players, it's a big thing to uproot your family at pretty short notice.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be an aspect that is like a reason not to do it, is the player welfare side of things. Yeah. I think it's a lot to ask, right? A player to be like, we've just traded you like mid-year, like off you go to, Tasmania.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, assuming the player still has consent, but I just think for that reason, you won't see older players get traded. You might see your 21-year-olds move who can draw up the hat, but the more entrenched they are in this state or whatever. The less
I think it'll be more your fringe players.
And probably like Victorian players hopping clubs. Like from Essendon to Richmond or something like that. I don't think you'd see like a Sydney to Perth. That's pretty extreme.
For content though, for you, for True Footy, it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. So much more buzz just across the board.
He's played a good game here, Heaney. He's played a very good game.
Yeah, one of their best. Although, is he cramping?
They'd be very happy to get the W here without Mills and Parker and Adams.
Yeah, that's a big test they've passed.
McDonald. Sign him up.
Did you know that? Oh, yeah, nice. Tom Morris, I heard on a podcast say that there was one article on AFL.com.au. Well, whoever he works for. Does he work for Fox? I've lost. No, he got sacked from Fox.
Yeah, doesn't he work for like one of the Nine or one of the weird TV stations now?
Yeah, I can't remember, but whoever he might have been referring to in the past. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he said that an article about Oscar McDonald getting picked up as a listed free agent got way more views and hits than any article they wrote during grand final week.
Wow, that's strange.
So way more people care about player movement than they do grand final week. And for like Oscar McDonald, seriously?
It's
crazy.
I really struggle to listen or to read anything that Tom Morris writes.
Yeah. He actually came across really well in that podcast. I found myself liking him. And then I subsequently remembered what he got cancelled for. And I was like, oh, okay.
He just screams like elite private school, like privilege.
Yeah. Yeah, bit of enough. He's asking, am I live streaming tomorrow? I think I might. And Joyce, you are welcome to join. I realize it's not going to necessarily be easy all the time, but I think I might. I won't lock it in. To be honest, I don't know if I'd commit to one by myself. I think I'll do Eagles ones by myself. because I want to be like more invested in the game.
I don't know if I'd commit to one by myself.
I didn't actually mean that, because I think
I know.
if
just
you're,
taking a piss.
I know, but if it's not you, then I could hit up Bush, or I could hit up Drews or something like that, or someone else. So leave it with me. I'll think about it. But I'm thinking at least one more this weekend. So yeah, we'll figure it out. This is the first time I don't have a video for tomorrow in like 3 months. And I might not do one. Not sure.
I'm going to ask you for some quick fire questions while we're watching at the end of this game, because I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Sagittarius.
Okay. Darcy or English?
I think you got to say English at the moment, but if I'm honest, my internal reaction there was like, it's pretty close. I kind of like Darcy more as a tap ruckman. If I'm Fremantle, I wouldn't do the swap. But you got to give credit for a very good season as well for Tim English. He does hit a lot of those key stats, but it's closer than what other people might say, because I feel like outside of WA, people would say clearly English, but I don't actually think it's clear.
Dunstan or Bruce?
Bruce.
Quite quick on that one.
I think last year he kicked like 47 goals. So did you mean right now, or
just over their career, I guess?
I'd probably go Bruce.
Yep.
I don't have the numbers in front of me though. I just think of them as both guns.
No, I would too. Rosie or Gordon?
That's a goodie. Fuck.
I know who I'm taking personally.
See, I think Rosie is the high-ranked player now, but Gordon's way younger. Maybe Rosie. Who would you say?
I'd go Rosie, I think. I'd go Rosie.
I think Rosie's been a prime player and has undoubtedly been known by the opposition for years now. Gordon probably still has to prove, that's a shank, that he can handle a tag, which doesn't mean he won't, because he's still young. Maybe that was kind of the only thing in my head.
Butters or Rao?
Butters, comfortably.
Butters comfortably over Rao?
Yeah. You?
Jeez. Honestly, probably Rao.
Why?
I don't know. I think he does all the grunt work that Butters doesn't have to do at Gold Coast.
True. But that's kind of all he does at the moment. He kind of only wins clearances.
Because he kind of has to, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't get the contested ball, handball it out, and be the one that then receives it. Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
But Tim Kelly's been doing that for 2 years. So.
Yeah, true.
Handball to himself.
What about...
There's a streaker, apparently.
What about... Tom Green or Sam Walsh?
Sam Walsh.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more damaging.
Okay.
Tom Green's a star, though. And again, it's a little tricky with the different ages, right? Because Tom Green justifiably shouldn't have the same expectation on him as Sam Walsh. But by the same token, Sam Walsh has been played plagued by injuries and still, the way he played in last year's final series.
McDonald or Van Rooyen?
Tough. I think it's pretty close, but I'd go McDonald.
Go McDonald.
Just a little bit more proven. But again, a couple of years older. Maybe, 1 year older, actually.
Oh, geez, I don't know about that one.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Probably Van Rooyen, to be honest.
But I think McDonald has a few more runs on the board, but it's pretty hard to extrapolate exactly how they're going to go from here.
Yeah.
McDonald was the better junior.
He was, yeah. Actually, maybe I'll change my mind. I think I'll go McDonald, actually, when I think about it. Just because of that reason.
Waffle Coleman.
That's right.
I think I cut a lot of bits of what Bush has said about the Gabba out.
Probably the right thing to do. He's done this whole analysis around the fact that Brisbane aren't going to play any home games.
Yeah. I did cut about 14 minutes out of the pod, but a lot of that was actually delays. When someone says something, there's often like a 2-second delay.
Yeah.
As Rich lines up. Is this for 4? Yeah, keep 4, I reckon. I picked him on my All-Australian bench, actually, Bailey Fritsch. G. Wilkes' comeback. They need 4 goals. They get 15 seconds a goal. You'd be a bit flat with this performance from Melbourne, I think.
Yeah, probably. It's only round. Well, it's only round 1, is it?
They scoring power seems to just continue to plague them, but we'll see. Man, these boys are sweaty, hey? There's some wet pigs out there.
Yeah. What about the game?
Yeah. What's that even mean?
Man, these boys are sweaty.
I was thinking the wet pigs part. Oh, these boys are sweaty.
Some wet pigs out there.
Spread my legs out a little bit.
Some wet pigs out there. Oh, there's going to be.
What the fuck? Windsor with some time and space here. What does he do with it? Miscued the kick. Probably tired. Yeah, there's a bit of listless poor inside 50s in this game, no doubt. No doubt.
G. Warner's, ever since I spoke about Warner, he's massively upped it. He's going to finish, he's on 88 Dream Team. Yeah, 26 disposals, 1 goal, 1.
How many, GT points did he get?
Oh, he's on 88, but
88.
Considering he was on like 30 not long ago.
Yeah.
Good finish.
Siren blows. Great win
Golden,
for the
69.
0 from 1 in our tipping Joyceburg.
Yeah. At least I didn't miss anything for the membership tipping then.
Yeah. Well, I think it will just carry your score in. You'll just enter the comp anyway.
Sweet.
Because you only do 1 set of tips. You can be in 10 comps. So I don't think that will matter. God.
Grundy's finished 113. He's outscored Gawn. He's had a good game here, I think.
Yeah. 113, good. That justifies the selection. Not that fantasy counts in the opening round, but nonetheless. Viney 125, Heaney 121. Yeah, again, I think that's a little bit of bait. I don't know if I'll this score doesn't even count. You might get him in for 3 good rounds. Salem had 95, Blakey 99, Cunningham 92. Gee, Roberts though, that's made me think a bit. But again, same logic. Players to come back in. Don't know how long term that will be. The goals. Yeah. Well, Fritsch, 6 disposals, 5 of them were scores.
Wow.
That's
He really is like, if he doesn't fire, like he is their whole forward line, isn't he?
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
it's
Pickett
great.
even play tonight? I don't recall seeing Cozzy Pickett once. He's not in.
No, he's suspended.
Oh, is he? Preseason?
Yeah. No, I think from last year, maybe.
He played in the preseason games.
Did he?
He played in the first one.
I thought he was suspended. Might be wrong.
Maybe he can play in the unofficial practice game, but not the actual Amy community game. Maybe that was the rule.
Possibly.
Darth Jar Jar says he's suspended from last year.
Mm.
Max Hansen changed his tip from the Swans to the Ds yesterday. Yeah, unlucky. I did the same thing.
That hurts.
Wooden Spoon Data says, I don't get the Billings edition. He probably doesn't do enough near goal or away to help them significantly. I get your point there. I think
Billings is a good addition.
What's that?
I think Billings is a good addition.
It's just hard to see what he came in for other than maybe midfield depth, but he's not really a midfielder and he's not a forward who kicks goals. So I understand what Wooden Spoon Data is saying there.
I think he was brought in as like that go-between between the midfield and the forwards. So I think they're going to try and get the ball in his hands to distribute.
Okay.
Because I was listening to something with Petrarca, and they had identified, they thought it was a midfield distribution problem, not a forward problem.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you've made a pretty good case for it there. Mike says,
I think that's Fremantle's issue.
Yeah. Were Fremantle into Billings at all? I can't recall. It seems like they were.
We were. Yeah. He didn't want to come to WA. But I think, our biggest issue is the ball use inside 50, not the forwards themselves. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying? I think from the chat.
No, that's right. I was just reading a comment from Mike. Says he put $5 on Melbourne. Now he can't pay the rent. I can relate to that. Yeah. Oh, well, fairly solid hit out to start the season. I don't think it was a bad game. It certainly wasn't. It
wasn't the best
on show. No, it wasn't enthralling.
Good contest though.
Yeah, opening round nonetheless.
I was going to say, let's be honest. With Carlton versus Richmond has not always been the highlight of the year.
They drew. Was it last year they drew? I think they did, and it was like 58 all or something. I can't remember, but that was a stinker. Absolute stinker. And then Carlton would end up being good.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But we got footy back. Anyway, that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's right.
How good.
Yeah. Very happy with that. All right, guys, we'll probably wrap up the stream soon. It's been good. We've been going for a solid 3 hours now. But thank you very much, Joyceberg. Let's definitely do this again sometime whenever you're available.
Yeah. No, very keen, mate. Nice to jump back on the channel, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. So see everyone next time.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys. I will probably stream again on True Footy this weekend. I don't know when, so bear with me. But that's all right. I'll see you guys sometime soon, and catch you later.
Yeah.